Chapter 1777. Forget it. At least it's not a loss. In the blink of an eye, the abyssal dragon demon's injuries had already healed, but his aura was much weaker than before, almost falling below the other shore realm. The only things that hadn't weakened were his killing intent, his hatred for Lin Moyu, and his deep-seated greed. The abyssal dragon demon's cold eyes stared fiercely at Lin Moyu.
You got lucky this time. Next time, I will definitely kill you. He's trying to escape.
Lin Moryu's heart stirred, and the skeleton god generals surrounded him again.
Get out of my way!
The abyssal dragon demon roared in anger, crashing through the skeleton god generals and flying outward. If an other shore realm powerhouse wanted to escape, Lin Moyu indeed couldn't stop him. Once he broke free from the encirclement, the vast star sea would make it difficult to kill him again, and all previous efforts would be wasted, including the myriad colors water. Lin Moyu naturally wouldn't allow this. From the moment the abyssal dragon demon appeared, he had used every design possible. How could he let him escape so easily?
I wanted to save this, but it seems I have to use it now.
Lin Moyu took out the golden token given by Zhu Qiwu, with the character Tan, Heaven, engraved on it. The token of the Heavenly Saint Sovereign, once activated, could unleash a strike from the Saint Sovereign. Moreover, the power of the Heavenly Saint Sovereign was among the top of the Saint Sovereigns. The abyssal dragon demon saw the token in Lin Moryu's hand and felt the aura of the Saint Sovereign from it. He immediately showed fear and screamed,
How do you have a Saint Sovereign's token?
Lin Moyu chuckled and immediately activated the token. The token shattered, and the majestic figure of the Heavenly Saint Sovereign condensed in the starry sky. Lin Moyu felt the soul aura belonging to the Heavenly Saint Sovereign. A trace of the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's soul was within the token. The shadow of the Heavenly Saint Sovereign, towering 10,000 meters high, looked down on the abyssal dragon demon like a supreme being. He raised his hand, emitting a golden light that gathered into a golden sword. Lin Moyu flicked out 10 drops of myriad colors water, sending them to the golden sword. Since he was going to do it, he would do it to the extreme, making the abyssal dragon demon utterly despair.
You can't escape.
Lin Moryu's words, like the final judgment, sealed the abyssal dragon demon's fate. The golden sword slashed through the starry sky, turning the vast expanse into a golden world. In the golden waves, the abyssal dragon demon's body was shattered and completely annihilated, leaving only a cluster of flames. The dark green abyssal fire burned fiercely in the starry sky, with a Do, fight, character within the flames. This was the fourth origin rune Lin Moyu had seen. He had the Being, Soldier, and Jura, person characters, while Mo Yun had the Chan, forward, character. Unfortunately, Mo Yun hadn't entered the origin secret realm and couldn't transform the Chan character into a spell. Now, Mo Yun had entered the coffin of slumber, and the Chan character had long disappeared, returning to the world. There were many origin runes, and the same rune could appear simultaneously. But once an origin rune was transformed into a spell, the same rune would no longer appear. Lin Moryu's Being and Jura origin runes had already become spells, and these runes would no longer appear in the world. The Do character in front of him had clearly not been transformed into a spell and was still in rune form. The abyssal dragon demon had obtained the Do character but hadn't transformed it into a spell, yet he could still retain it. This was truly amazing. Lin Moryu reached out to grab the Do character, but the shadow of the Heavenly Saint Sovereign suddenly shouted,
Stop!
Lin Moyu halted, thinking the Heavenly Saint Sovereign was also interested in the Do character. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign's voice was low.
This rune is controlled by the abyssal demon sovereign. Outsiders cannot obtain it. If you touch it, you will either die or become a slave of the abyssal demon sovereign.
Lin Moryu's expression changed slightly. He activated the Eye of the Soul to examine it closely, then switched to the Eye of the Undead, finally seeing a clue. This Do character was not the main body but a clone of the true origin rune. Each origin rune had its own function, After being transformed into a spell, it could create clones and control others. Creating clones was originally one of the abilities of the demon clan. Moreover, at the core of this dull character, there was a trace of a soul. This trace of a soul seemed weak but gave Lin Moyu an extremely terrifying feeling. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign slowly raised his hand, condensing another golden sword. But compared to the previous one, this one was clearly weaker. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign looked at Lin Moyu.
Myriad colors water.
Lin Moyu didn't hesitate, immediately flicking out 10 drops of myriad colors water, merging them into the golden sword. The golden sword slashed through the starry sky, cutting into the abyssal fire. The abyssal fire was instantly dissolved, dissipating into the starry sky. After the Heavenly Saint Sovereign slashed the second sword, his body had completely faded, on the verge of disappearing. In fact, if it weren't for the myriad colors water, the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's power would have been exhausted after the first sword. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign looked at Lin Moyu, then at Zhu Qiwu, who was advancing on the blood path, nodded slightly, and then completely disappeared. Lin Moyu breathed a sigh of relief.
There shouldn't be anyone else coming to disturb us, right?
Although he said this, he still dispatched a large number of skeleton god generals to guard the star fragmentation ring. In the undead vision, even an other shore realm being couldn't sneak in. Lin Moyu murmured.
This battle was a bit of a loss.
He had used 100 drops of myriad colors water, exhausted his power of belief, and even used the corpse of the stellar fire vine, yet he had gained nothing. Lin Moyu felt a bit unwilling, carefully searching the starry sky. Before the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's sword struck, the abyssal dragon demon soul had been shattered, leaving no remains. But before that, the corpse explosion he triggered had blasted the abyssal dragon demon into pieces. Maybe, with some luck, something might be left. The starry sky was filled with debris and fragments, making it difficult for Lin Moyu to find anything alone. Fortunately, he had enough subordinates. After 10 minutes of diligent searching by millions of skeleton god generals, they finally found something. They found 6 dragon scales, each shattered and lifeless. But that was enough. As long as there were dragon scales, Lin Moyu could use them for corpse explosions. The power would be equivalent to an other shore realm self-destruction, enough to make even a Saint Sovereign retreat. It was like having a life-saving trump card. A few minutes later, they made another discovery. In a shattered meteorite, they found a storage item. The storage item looked like a piece of dragon skin, but was actually a magical treasure, emitting a unique aura. However, this aura had been concealed, making it very faint. The owner of the magical treasure was dead, and it had become ownerless. Lin Moryu's soul easily penetrated it. A vast space appeared in his vision, filled with countless items. Most of them were items used by the demon clan, along with many god-sovereign materials. Lin Moyu glanced over and found that these materials were also suitable for the demon clan. They were of no use to him and could only be exchanged for points. He didn't find any good magical treasures. The abyssal dragon demon seemed to have never used any magical treasures. Lin Moyu guessed that in an ancient battle, not only was the abyssal dragon demon injured, but his magical treasures were also destroyed. The abyssal dragon demon had been healing ever since, disdaining ordinary magical treasures and unable to obtain good other shore realm treasures, becoming a pauper.
It seems I can only sell these things and use the points to exchange for magical treasures. Forget it, at least it's not a loss.
Lin Moyu put away the dragon's skin, and the starry sky suddenly trembled. Strange sounds came from the distant starry sky. 1778 1778. Chapter 1778. What are you waiting for? Get moving. Asterisk asterisk. The voice came from an incredibly distant place, resonating within the soul. Not only did Lin Moyu hear it, but the entire human race, everyone above the super god realm, heard this voice. The voice was like a beautiful melody, indistinguishable in its composition, yet conveying its meaning clearly. It was a congratulatory voice. The great world was celebrating Zhu Qiwu's ascension to the other shore. At the core of the human race's divine city, all the other shore realm powerhouses simultaneously show joy.
Another one of our human race has reached the other shore. Who has reached the other shore? It should be Zhu Qiwu, the previous guardian of the Vermilion Bird battlefield. Zhu Qiwu, the disciple of the House Saint Sovereign? I remember he was just half a step into the other shore before. How did he advance so quickly? It must be him. He had already started the blood path to the shore. Considering the time, although it's a bit fast, it can't be anyone else. The House Saint Sovereign has a good eye, taking in 3 disciples. One has reached the other shore, and the other 2 are peak god sovereigns. They might also reach the other shore someday.
The other shore realm powerhouses discussed among themselves. In a more mysterious place, the Heavenly Saint Sovereign, the House Saint Sovereign, and the Killing Saint Sovereign stood together. They were studying the invader from the Black Blood Great World. Although the invader was dead, leaving only a corpse, even the corpse had immense research value. Ancient powerhouses were once just legends, but now an ancient powerhouse lay before them, holding great allure for people of their level. The 3 of them also heard the congratulatory voice from the Great World. The House Saint Sovereign smiled.
Qiwu has reached the other shore.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign smiled and congratulated.
I didn't expect him to complete the blood path to the shore so quickly. He truly is a talent, with the potential to become a Saint Sovereign in the future.
The House Saint Sovereign shook his head slightly.
Becoming a Saint Sovereign is uncertain, but he can at least reach the peak of the other shore. Even compared to a Saint Sovereign, he won't be far off.
The Killing Saint Sovereign said loudly.
Zhu Qiwu's star fragmentation law, when fully unleashed, is not much weaker than the top-tier laws.
The House Saint Sovereign looked into the distance, as if trying to see the distant starry sky.
I told him before to reach the other shore as soon as possible, and he really did it.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign smiled.
After some time, when the starry sky fishmen visit, we can take action.
The Killing Saint Sovereign's eyes filled with killing intent.
Our human race hasn't acted for many years. It's time to show our strength. Otherwise, others only know we're a strong race but don't know how strong.
At this moment, a faint light flew from afar, ignoring any obstacles, crossing the boundary between the virtual and the real, and entered the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's mind. The House Saint Sovereign's eyes glowed slightly.
Your soul has returned. What happened?
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign read the memories returned by the soul.
I once gave Zhu Qiwu a protective token. When he was advancing to the other shore, the abyssal dragon demon came for him.
The House Saint Sovereign and the Killing Saint Sovereign frowned. Being disturbed while advancing to the other shore was not a good thing. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign smiled.
It's fine. Lin Xiaoyu was there and blocked it for Zhu Qiwu. The abyssal dragon demon was severely injured and tried to escape. Lin Xiaoyu activated the token and killed it.
The Killing Saint Sovereign showed a look of shock.
Impossible. Lin Xiaoyu's combat power is strong, but compared to the other shore realm, there's still a big gap.
The House Saint Sovereign agreed with the Killing Saint Sovereign.
Even with the golden sword and myriad colors water, he could at most protect himself.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign laughed.
Killing an enemy doesn't always require brute force. One can also use their brain. Lin Xiaoyu is very smart. Although I don't know the entire battle process, it's clear that the abyssal dragon demon suffered a great loss at Lin Xiaoyu's hands. It seems the abyssal dragon demon was previously severely injured, and its soul never recovered, so its strength was at most half of the other shore realm. Although Lin Xiaoyu won, a new problem has arisen.
The Killing Saint Sovereign asked curiously.
Isn't the abyssal dragon demon dead? What's the problem?
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign pointed, projecting the image from his mind. In the image, a mass of dark green abyssal fire burned fiercely, with a fight character appearing intermittently. The Killing Saint Sovereign asked curiously.
Isn't this the abyssal demon sovereign's origin rune?
The House Saint Sovereign shook his head.
It's not the main body, just a clone. Do you mean the abyssal dragon demon had this origin rune?
The heavenly saint sovereign nodded.
Yes, and the abyssal demon sovereign should now know that Lin Xiaoyu has an origin rune. If I'm not mistaken, the abyssal demon sovereign will try to seize his origin rune next.
The killing saint sovereign's expression changed.
That's troublesome. That guy's methods are hard to guard against.
The saint sovereigns had dealt with the abyssal demon sovereign before and were well aware of his abilities, which they greatly feared. They weren't afraid of a direct confrontation, but the abyssal demon sovereign's underhanded methods were troublesome. They couldn't always stay by Lin Moryu's side. The House Saint Sovereign said softly,
We need to think of a way.
The killing Saint Sovereign was straightforward.
Let Lin Xiaoyu return to the Divine City. As long as he's in the Divine City, that guy can't do anything.
The House Saint Sovereign rejected the idea.
No, that would interfere with Lin Xiaoyu.
The killing Saint Sovereign snorted.
If his life is at risk, what's the point of worrying about interference?
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign and the House Saint Sovereign shared the same view.
The House Saint Sovereign is right. We can't interfere with Lin Xiaoyu. We've tried similar things before, and our predecessors also tried to cultivate talents to surpass us, but they all failed. Don't forget what the war god said. At that time, the war god saw destiny.
The killing Saint Sovereign fell silent. He knew these principles but also knew that Lin Moyu would be in great danger. He gritted his teeth.
Then what do you suggest?
The House Saint Sovereign said softly,
We still have a few destiny stones. I'll refine a protective token for him.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign added,
That's not enough. I remember there are a few substitute puppets in the warehouse. Give one to Lin Xiaoyu.
The killing Saint Sovereign said in a low voice,
I'll split a part of my soul to protect him once.
At this moment, a fourth voice suddenly spoke.
I'll draw an ancient talisman to ensure Lin Xiaoyu's safety.
The House Saint Sovereign's face lit up with joy.
The talisman Saint Sovereign is here.
The former ancestor of the Su family, now the talisman Saint Sovereign, stepped forward. An ancient talisman rotated and flew around him, exuding an ancient aura, making him look like someone from ancient times. The talisman Saint Sovereign slightly bowed to the three.
Su greets the three Dao friends.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign laughed heartily.
Dao friend Su, congratulations on entering the Dao with talismans. Your future achievements will surely surpass ours.
The talisman Saint Sovereign was very humble.
It's just a different path to the same goal. I recently comprehended an ancient talisman called the Soul Cleansing Talisman. Although the Soul Cleansing Talisman is only a second-class ancient talisman, it's most suitable for dealing with the Abyssal Demon Sovereign's underhanded methods. If it can be paired with the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's Golden Rule, the House Saint Sovereign's Destiny Void Realm, and a substitute puppet, it will be foolproof.
The talisman Saint Sovereign had never dealt with the Abyssal Demon Sovereign but was well aware of some of his methods. After explaining the effects of the Soul Cleansing Talisman, the Saint Sovereigns all showed joy, and their previous worries disappeared. The killing Saint Sovereign urged,
What are you waiting for? Get moving!
1779, 1779. Chapter 1779. Not wanting to take shortcuts. It's hard. In the ancestral land of the demon clan, a rain of fire began to fall. Hellfire and abyssal fire merged, forming a peculiar flame that was green, black, and blood-like. The flames fell, destroying countless buildings, injuring, and even killing numerous demons. The demons were terrified, not knowing what to do. Unlike the celebratory atmosphere in the human world, the demon world was suddenly struck by numerous disasters, and a sorrowful atmosphere swept across the entire demon territory. When a god sovereign falls, it usually just rains. But when an other shore realm being falls, it brings disaster.
Previously, there was a torrential rain, and many god sovereigns died. Now the rain has turned into a rain of fire. Could it be that an other shore realm being has fallen? How many years has it been since an other shore realm being fell? Did they die of old age, or were they killed?
Many elderly demons, who knew more than the younger ones, had a rough idea of what had happened. In the Demon King's city, a voice roared with anger. Among the demons, two terrifying beings sat on the highest thrones. One was the Hell Demon Sovereign, the supreme being of the Hell faction. The other was the Abyss Demon Sovereign, the supreme being of the Abyss faction. Both were Saint Sovereigns, possessing immense power. The Hell Demon Sovereign, born from the 100-headed lion demon, had a lion-like appearance covered in fleshy lumps, each resembling an independent head, making him look extremely terrifying. The Abyss Demon Sovereign, on the other hand, was entirely shrouded in dark green abyssal fire. No one knew his appearance or origin. Below them were hundreds of demons, including Saint Sovereigns and Peak God Sovereigns, all exuding astonishing auras. The Abyss Demon Sovereign's voice was hoarse, like thousands of worms crawling on the ground, giving a creepy feeling.
The Abyssal Dragon Demon was killed by the human race's Heavenly Saint Sovereign. The number 10 fortress in the Vermilion Bird battlefield was also destroyed by the human race. None of the demons inside escaped. The ones who did it were Lin Moyu and Zhu Qiwu. Zhu Qiwu should have already become an other shore realm being. I have heard the human race's celebratory voice.
The Hell Demon Sovereign said in a low voice,
Now is not the time to go to war with the human race, but this hatred cannot go unavenged. Pass my order. In the 4 battlefields, all demons are to stop collecting resources and focus on hunting down the human race. Deploy the army to cooperate. I want the battlefield to be drenched in the blood of the human race.
He then looked at the Abyss Demon Sovereign, who shook with abyssal fire.
You don't need to worry about me. Do whatever you want. I won't oppose it. Although now is not the time to go to war with the human race, the hatred for the Abyssal Dragon Demon must be avenged. I will personally handle this matter.
The Hell Demon Sovereign nodded.
All right, be careful not to touch the human race's bottom line. You know what I mean.
The Abyss Demon Sovereign let out a sinister laugh.
Of course I know. Leave the rest to me. I will only seek personal revenge and won't affect you.
After speaking, the Abyss Demon Sovereign's figure twisted and disappeared. In the Vermilion Bird battlefield, in the void 100 billion kilometers away from the number 10 fortress, Zhu Qiwu sat cross-legged, his aura continuously sublimating, with the power of laws fully transforming into the power of rules. His soul had completely stepped into the 5th grade, turning entirely purple, looking like a beautiful jade. The soul had entered the other shore before the physical body. Now, he was just waiting for the laws to fully transform, for the soul and body to merge, and to achieve the other shore. Time passed second by second. After waiting for half a day, the last trace of law finally transformed into the power of rules. Zhu Qiwu's body emitted a dazzling light, and the starry sky around him collapsed under the pressure of the power of rules. At this moment, his soul re-entered his body, merging with it. A powerful aura shot into the sky, and the Law Star River beneath his feet quickly shrank, merging into his body. Zhu Qiwu's body trembled, and his physical body began to strengthen. From the 1st tier of the God King realm, it quickly reached the 3rd tier. In the coming period, his physical body would continue to strengthen until it reached the 6th tier of the God King realm. As his realm reached the other shore, the Law Star River automatically merged into his body, continuously stimulating and strengthening his physical body. Because of this, cultivators in the great world generally did not actively cultivate their physical bodies. Almost everyone believed that as long as the physical body was strong enough to carry the soul, it was sufficient. As the realm increased, the physical body would naturally strengthen, without the need for deliberate cultivation. The key issue was that physical body cultivation was too slow and yielded little effect. Rather than wasting time, it was better to focus on the soul and reach higher realms. The Law Star River did not disappear but fully merged into the body, allowing the power of the Law Star River to be mobilized at any time. Laws are the foundation of rules, and the Law Star River contains endless power of laws, which can be continuously transformed into rules. The power of the other shore realm would be endless. As long as the rhythm was controlled well, there was almost no need to worry about running out of power. Moreover, various restrictive spells would find it difficult to restrain an other shore realm being. The other shore realm is self-sufficient, not relying on the outside world. Zhu Qiwu slowly opened his eyes, and Lin Moyu sincerely said,
Congratulations, Senior, on reaching the other shore. I wish you to soon achieve the Saint Sovereign Realm and possess the power to destroy the heavens and the earth.
The first half of the sentence was proper, but the second half was exaggerated. Zhu Qiwu didn't know whether to thank Lin Moyu or scold him. He looked around and frowned.
Someone has been here.
The star fragmentation ring had collapsed, and the traces of a great battle were everywhere. Lin Moyu nodded, returning the Hao Saint Sovereign's token to Zhu Qiwu.
The Abyssal Dragon Demon came. I used the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's token to destroy him.
Zhu Qiwu said in a low voice.
The Abyssal Dragon Demon actually attacked us.
Other shore realm beings are not supposed to act casually. This is the rule. But the Abyssal Dragon Demon's disregard for the rules exceeded Zhu Qiwu's expectations. Lin Moyu casually said,
Actually, it's nothing. That guy had a grudge against me and came under the pretext of seeking revenge. Unfortunately, he didn't expect to encounter the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's token and was completely annihilated.
Zhu Qiwu laughed.
Indeed, he was unlucky. That guy was severely injured before, and his combat power was less than half of an ordinary other shore realm being. Rather than continue to live miserably, it's better to die cleanly. I ask you, after observing my blood path to the shore and reaching the other shore, do you have any insights?
Lin Moyu hesitated.
Senior Zhu, I'm not sure if I should say this.
Zhu Qiwu looked at Lin Moyu strangely.
When did you become so hesitant? If you have something to say, just say it.
Lin Moyu thought for a moment and then spoke.
I feel that the blood path to the shore is a shortcut.
Zhu Qiwu laughed heartily.
I thought it was something serious, but it's this. You're right, it is indeed a shortcut. You're worried that taking shortcuts will affect your future, right?
Lin Moyu nodded slightly. That was indeed his concern. Zhu Qiwu explained.
Perhaps it will have some impact, but it won't affect achieving the Saint Sovereign Realm. As for a higher and farther path, it might be unreachable.
Lin Moyu trembled.
Unreachable?
Zhu Qiwu shook his head.
I only heard the House Saint Sovereign mention it once. I don't know the specifics. You'll understand when you reach the Saint Sovereign Realm. The blood path to the shore is indeed a shortcut, relying on external forces. How could it not be a shortcut? But if you don't take this shortcut, achieving the other shore, it's hard.
Zhu Qiwu sighed deeply, with a hint of helplessness. 1780 Chapter 1780 New and Old Grudges, Settling All Accounts. The old and young sat in the silent starry sky, chatting for a long time. After becoming an other shore realm being, Zhu Qiwu's strength increased greatly, but his personality didn't change at all. To outsiders, he was silent and aloof, extremely cold and difficult to approach. But once it was someone he approved of, he could talk endlessly. Zhu Qiwu told Lin Moyu a lot. He was very clear that the blood path to the shore was a shortcut, but it was also an unavoidable shortcut. The human race needed other shore realm beings, and even more so, they needed Saint Sovereigns. Even now, the human race was already strong enough, stronger than any other race. In Zhu Qiwu's words, in one-on-one combat, no race in the great world dared to challenge the human race. Even the current demon race was slightly weaker than the human race. They may seem to cause a lot of trouble usually, but if they really fought with the human race, they would only face defeat. However, the human race's enemies weren't just the demon race, but also other races in the great world. Once the human race and demon race went to war, needless to say, other races would definitely help the demon race and attack the human race. They wouldn't allow the human race to dominate alone. Even to suppress the human race, the disaster from 100,000 years ago might repeat itself. In other words, the human race was very strong, but not absolutely the strongest. If all races united, the human race would still be defeated. Therefore, the human race needed a large number of other Shore Realm beings and Saint Sovereigns. Saint Sovereigns were currently the top combat force in the Great World. As long as there were enough Saint Sovereigns, the human race might truly become the strongest in the Great World. If they didn't choose the shortcut of the blood path to the shore, Zhu Qiwu might need over 1,000 years to complete the Lost Star River, or he might never complete it. That way, the human race would not only lose an other Shore Realm being but might also lose a potential Saint Sovereign. Zhu Qiwu's goal was to become a Saint Sovereign, to add the strongest combat power for the human race. So even though he knew it was a shortcut, he had to make this choice. Not just the human race, other races made the same choice. The human race feared the repeat of the disaster from 100,000 years ago, while other races feared the human race's domination. Although in recent years, large-scale wars hadn't broken out between races, undercurrents were surging, and all races were competing. The Great World was extremely cruel, with natural selection and survival of the fittest. If you didn't advance, you would retreat. Even if you wanted to hide away without strength, you would eventually be found and eliminated. The higher-ups of the human race always had a sense of urgency. Even Saint Sovereigns were always preparing for the worst, fearing the repeat of the disaster from 100,000 years ago. If it weren't for Xiao Zhantian's sudden appearance back then, the human race might have already been wiped out from the Great World. Zhu Qiwu explained the causes and effects thoroughly, giving Lin Moyu a more macro-level understanding of the entire Great World and the human race's situation. During the entire narration, Zhu Qiwu also revealed some information that outsiders couldn't possibly know. Due to his special status, Zhu Qiwu possessed some special information. He trusted Lin Moyu, so he didn't hold back. After the disaster 100,000 years ago, war god Xiao Zhantian stood tall, single-handedly cutting off the near-ancient era and opening a new era for the entire Great World. For Xiao Zhantian, wiping out an entire race single-handedly wasn't difficult. Xiao Zhantian indeed did so, personally annihilating some small races that had invaded the human race back then. Even strong races like the Golden Eagle race and Demon race were beaten into retreat by Xiao Zhantian. At that time, it was Xiao Zhantian's era. Due to some special reasons, Xiao Zhantian didn't completely wipe out the Demon race, Golden Eagle race, and some other strong races. Zhu Qiwu didn't know the specific reasons. However, Xiao Zhantian did make an arrangement, stirring up hatred between various races. At that time, there was no hatred between the Demon race and the Golden Eagle race. Somehow, hatred arose between the two races, and they began to fight each other. As time passed, the hatred accumulated deeper and deeper, evolving into a blood feud. Not just the Golden Eagle race and Demon race, but some other strong races also inexplicably developed hatred for each other and began to fight. This way, various races began to consume each other, giving the human race a chance to rise again. As for how Xiao Zhantian managed to do this, no one knew. Zhu Qiwu's eyes showed contemplation.
Perhaps the master of the war god temple knows some inside information, but he wouldn't reveal it. The Saint Sovereigns feel that although hatred has been established between various races, if the human race becomes too powerful, they can still put aside their hatred and unite against the human race. Just like how they can temporarily put aside their hatred and form an allied army to kill you, it's the same principle.
Lin Moyu agreed with Zhu Qiwu's words, and indeed, that was the case. When they discovered that the human race truly posed a threat to them, they could completely put aside their past hatred. Even those races that had no hatred towards the human race, like the Ox Demon race, might join the army to attack the human race. Lin Moyu said in a low voice,
Actually, in the end, we need to truly frighten them, cripple them, kill them. Only then can this great world be peaceful.
Zhu Qiwu sighed.
Yes, but it's difficult.
Lin Moryu's eyes flashed with coldness.
It's difficult, but not impossible. I don't know why the war god didn't continue back then. If I can reach the Saint Sovereign level one day, I will definitely raise my blade against various races. New and old grudges, I will settle all accounts.
Zhu Qiwu chuckled.
Various races have already sensed the threat you bring, so they won't allow you to grow, and you might face even greater threats.
Lin Moyu didn't care. Since his class change, he had been fighting his way through. The blood path had long formed under his feet, and it wasn't just a blood path, but mountains of corpses and seas of blood. The number of people he had killed far exceeded most god sovereigns in the human race. Zhu Qiwu sensed Lin Moryu's killing intent and couldn't help but smile.
I know you're not afraid, but you still need to be careful. To deal with you, perhaps other shore realm beings from various races might shamelessly take action. Keep the House Saint Sovereign's token. You might need it.
Zhu Qiwu tossed the House Saint Sovereign's token back to Lin Moyu. Now that Zhu Qiwu had successfully advanced to the other shore realm with his combat power, unless a Saint Sovereign personally took action, ordinary other shore realm beings would find it difficult to kill him. If a Saint Sovereign took action, relying on just a Saint Sovereign's token wouldn't be of much use. It was better to give it to Lin Moyu, who might be able to make some use of it. Lin Moyu didn't stand on ceremony and put away the token. Zhu Qiwu asked,
Kid, where are you going next?
Lin Moyu thought for a moment.
First back to the Vermilion Bird Star Domain. Might go to the Small World to take a look, then to the White Tiger Star Domain.
Zhu Qiwu said,
I need to return to the Divine City too. In the blink of an eye, I've been away from the Divine City for over 2,000 years.
His voice and gaze carried nostalgia, like an old man who had been away from home for a long time, starting to miss his homeland and the people there. Lin Moyu smiled.
Then we'll meet again when fate allows. I hope you can achieve Saint Sovereign status soon. You brat, you really dare to think.
Zhu Qiwu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had just reached the other shore realm and hadn't even stabilized, yet Lin Moyu was already thinking about Saint Sovereign. But he also knew Lin Moyu was joking with him. Suddenly, a flame lit up in the starry sky, extremely dim, emitting a deep green color. This green was so dark it made one's heart sink, almost black. Zhu Qiwu's expression changed drastically.
Not good, it's the Abyss Demon Sovereign.
From within the flames, a gloomy and hoarse voice flew out.
You're not going anywhere.
1781, 1781. Chapter 1781. Abyss Demon Sovereign Substitute Puppet. The voice of the Abyss Demon Sovereign was extremely unpleasant, yet it contained immense power. Just hearing his voice made Lin Moryu's heart involuntarily skip a few beats. The Abyss Demon Sovereign had come personally to kill him. Zhu Qiwu whispered,
I'll hold him off. You head in that direction.
He gave Lin Moyu a look, signaling him to leave. Lin Moyu shook his head.
I can't leave, and I won't leave.
Zhu Qiwu's eyes showed clear anxiety. Facing a Saint Sovereign, it made no difference whether Lin Moyu was there or not. He could hold off the Abyss Demon Sovereign for a while, and if Lin Moyu was lucky, he might escape. Lin Moyu, however, smiled and said,
A dignified Saint Sovereign attacking a god king like me. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at?
The sinister voice rang out again.
Who dares to laugh at me?
The abyssal fire instantly expanded, like a prison, firmly trapping Lin Moyu and Zhu Qiwu. Zhu Qiwu's eyes were resolute, gathering rules, clearly ready to fight to the death. Lin Moyu also prepared to act. Regardless of whether he could win, he had to try. He had the scales of the abyssal dragon demon and could use corpse explosion. The Abyss Demon Sovereign was indeed a Saint Sovereign, but a Saint Sovereign was also an other shore realm being. In theory, using the corpse of the abyssal dragon demon as material could also injure the Abyss Demon Sovereign. If he added the myriad colors water, there might be a chance to kill him. A god king killing a Saint Sovereign might sound like a fantasy, but Lin Moyu felt it was worth a try. Suddenly, his soul stirred, and he said to Zhu Qiwu,
It's okay now.
A point of golden light suddenly exploded in the flames, followed by countless points of golden light, extinguishing the abyssal fire wherever they passed.
Heavenly Saint Sovereign!
The Abyss Demon Sovereign let out a low roar, clearly furious, but also a bit surprised. Perhaps he was surprised at how quickly the Heavenly Saint Sovereign arrived. Amidst the myriad points of golden light, a figure gradually solidified. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign, with a gentle smile, looked towards a certain spot in the void.
Abyss Demon Sovereign, after thousands of years, do you want me to act again?
A few seconds later, a low growl came from the abyssal fire, which gradually disappeared as the Abyss Demon Sovereign left. From their conversation, Lin Moyu understood that the two had fought thousands of years ago, and it seemed the Heavenly Saint Sovereign had won, as the Abyss Demon Sovereign now dared not fight him again. Zhu Qiwu was about to speak, but the Heavenly Saint Sovereign waved him off. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign raised his hand, and a golden star appeared in his palm. The star flew out from his palm, like a golden sun, illuminating the entire starry sky. Bathed in the golden light, Lin Moyu and Zhu Qiwu felt as if they were soaking in a hot spring, extremely comfortable. Then, wisps of black gas rose from Lin Moryu's body, dissolving in the golden light. Lin Moyu asked,
"What is this?"
With his soul realm, he hadn't even sensed the black gas. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign explained,
"This is a mark left by the Abyss Demon Sovereign on you." "Just a mark?"
Lin Moyu felt there was more to it. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign further explained,
"The Abyss Demon Sovereign's mark is special. He can not only track you through it but also ignore distance and directly attack you through the mark. Of course, such attacks aren't very powerful and won't be fatal. But they can disrupt your cultivation at critical moments, causing your efforts to be in vain."
Lin Moyu felt a chill in his heart.
As expected of the Abyss Demon Sovereign, his methods are indeed insidious and hard to guard against.
Killing intent rose in his eyes. When he had enough strength in the future, he would definitely kill him. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign shook his head with a smile.
"This is just a minor trick. The Abyss Demon Sovereign's true methods are far more troublesome. Even I find them troublesome, so I came immediately upon learning you had encountered him."
As he spoke, the Heavenly Saint Sovereign produced a palm-sized puppet.
"This is a substitute puppet. If you encounter a fatal threat, it can die in your place."
A substitute puppet was a truly valuable item, more precious than a god sovereign-level treasure. Having it was like having an extra life. Lin Moyu immediately imprinted his soul mark on the substitute puppet, which then turned into a stream of light and entered his forehead. In his soul world, a puppet appeared beside his soul. The puppet was like a mass of gas, constantly changing, occasionally reflecting Lin Moryu's appearance. It emitted a peculiar aura, seemingly connected to some rule of the world. If there was a fatal danger, whether to his body or soul, it would die in Lin Moryu's place. Moreover, it could be controlled by Lin Moyu or left to act on its own. Being able to control it meant it wouldn't affect Lin Moryu's innate abilities. Lin Moyu would naturally prioritize using his innate abilities, only using the substitute puppet when his 2 rebirth chances were exhausted. Lin Moyu bowed to the Heavenly Saint Sovereign.
"Thank you, Heavenly Saint Sovereign."
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign waved his hand.
"This is just one of the protections. The Talisman Saint Sovereign, the House Saint Sovereign, and the Killing Saint Sovereign are all preparing protective items for you. They will be delivered to you soon. Until you receive these protective items, do not leave the human race's star domain. Do you understand?"
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign's tone carried a hint of caution. This also showed that the Heavenly Saint Sovereign was wary of the Abyss Demon Sovereign's methods. Lin Moyu became vigilant.
"I will be careful."
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign nodded in satisfaction, then looked at Zhu Qiwu.
"Qiwu, you've been away from home for over 2,000 years. It's time to go back and take a look."
Zhu Qiwu sighed with emotion.
"Indeed, it's time to go back. Over 2,000 years, things have changed. I wonder how they are now."
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign left, but not before reminding Lin Moyu once more. Lin Moyu and Zhu Qiwu returned to Fortress Number 10. After formally saying their goodbyes, Lin Moyu returned alone to Fortress Number 1. During the long teleportation, countless stars were left behind. After continuous battles, Lin Moyu felt a bit tired deep inside. This was unavoidable and something that would be experienced during cultivation. People have emotions, and no matter how firm one's Tao heart is, there are times when emotions fluctuate. That's why, after reaching a certain level of cultivation, one needs to experience life, to go through the warmth and coldness of human relationships, and to use ordinary life to smooth out the ups and downs of cultivation. Many powerful cultivators, whether god kings or god sovereigns, often hide their identities and enter the world of ordinary people. They live with ordinary people, eating, drinking, sleeping, and growing old together. Like Zhu Qiwu, who once, as a god king, went to several small worlds. In those small worlds, he lived as an ordinary person, fully experiencing birth, aging, illness, and death. Only after such experiences did he transcend again, making his Tao heart even firmer. Lin Moyu had once been an ordinary person, climbing step by step to where he was now, so he didn't need such experiences. But he also felt tired at times and needed rest. Fortress number 1 was still the busiest place in the human race's territory in the Vermilion Bird battlefield. In the backyard of the trading center, Yuzhu had already prepared tea. Seeing Lin Moyu return, Yuzhu's beautiful face bloomed like a flower, radiant and captivating. 1782 Chapter 1782. How about we make it a done deal?
Captain? Tell Yuzhu about it. What kind of experience did you have this time? Looking at the captain, it seems like you've been through some slaughter. Was it dangerous?
Yuzhu's voice was sweet, and no matter how long you listened to her, it wouldn't be annoying. Lin Moyu still had the scent of blood on him, with a hint of weariness between his brows, and a faint killing intent emanating from him. Yuzhu, having observed many people, knew that Lin Moyu must have gone through a dangerous experience. A cup of iced tea went down his throat, the cool tea spreading through his body, dispelling the unease and heat in his blood. Lin Moyu exhaled a long breath and then showed a slight smile.
Indeed, I went through several big battles. You might hear about it soon.
Yuzhu smiled sweetly.
It seems the captain made quite a stir this time.
Lin Moyu nodded slightly.
Indeed, it was quite significant.
Seeing that Lin Moyu didn't elaborate, Yuzhu didn't press further. Since Lin Moyu said there would be news, she wasn't in a hurry. The Yuzhu family had timely information, so it shouldn't take long. Yuzhu's big eyes sparkled with spirit.
Captain, do you know? A new guardian is coming to the Vermilion Bird battlefield.
Lin Moyu nodded.
I know. Senior Zhu has advanced to the other shore, so naturally, someone else will take over.
Zhu Qiwu's advancement to the other shore wasn't a secret, and Yuzhu would soon find out. Yuzhu wasn't too surprised. Perhaps she had already heard the news. She continued,
Do you know who the new guardian is?
Lin Moyu shook his head.
I don't know.
Generally, battlefield guardians are peak god sovereigns from the divine city. Previously, it was Zhu Qiwu, and this time it should be the same, someone from a prominent family in the divine city. Yuzhu said,
It should be someone from the Song family.
Lin Moyu thought of Song Jia, the ancestor of the Song family, and other shore realm powerhouse, Song Jia. He had once helped Lin Moyu and even gave him an ancient talisman jade piece. The ancient talisman jade piece had become one of Lin Moryu's trump cards, helping him solve many troubles. Actually, Lin Moyu didn't care much about who would come to the Vermilion Bird battlefield as the guardian. However, seeing Yuzhu's somewhat strange expression, he asked,
Is there a problem?
Yuzhu whispered,
Captain, can you help me with something?
Lin Moyu looked at her.
Tell me.
Lin Moyu didn't agree immediately, and Yuzhu knew his character, so she said,
It's about the new guardian from the Song family.
Lin Moyu raised an eyebrow.
Do you have a grudge against him? Do you want me to kill him?
Yuzhu exclaimed in surprise.
No, our Yuzhu family and the Song family have a good relationship.
After thinking for a moment, Yuzhu finally gathered the courage.
It's like this. The new guardian from the Song family is called Songren, a peak god sovereign. Songren is a good friend of my father and has a good relationship with our Yuju family. Songren has a son named Songi. Songi once proposed to me, but I refused. This time, he will also come, and my father will come too.
Lin Moyu understood and couldn't help but laugh.
What are you thinking?
Yuju blushed.
I have someone I like, and it's not Songi.
As she spoke, Yuju's beautiful eyes stared straight at Lin Moyu, unblinking. Anyone with a normal mind could see the affection in Yuju's eyes. However, Lin Moyu seemed oblivious, sipping his tea.
Then just refuse him directly.
Yuju whispered.
I can't do that. I can't explain it to my father. Our Yuju family has strict rules. The reason I haven't returned to the Yuju family or the Divine City and volunteered to come to the 4-star domains and enter the battlefield is to avoid him.
Facing the family's rules, Yuju chose to escape. Lin Moyu understood well. In such prominent families, there were too many rules, and as a family member, one often had no choice. The family's arrangements had to be followed, and as a family member, one had to contribute to the family. There was only one exception, showing extraordinary cultivation talent. In that case, the family would treat you as a treasure, fully nurturing you, and wouldn't let you marry out. Even any external troubles would be handled by the family. But Yuju was clearly not that kind of person. Her cultivation talent was not top-notch, just decent. Yuju might have a high status in the Yuju family, but she couldn't escape such a fate. In a prominent family, sometimes one had no control over their own life. Lin Moyu asked.
Song Yi's talent is very high, right?
Yuju nodded.
Very high. He became a god king at just 300 years old, one of the outstanding talents of the younger generation in the Song family. Moreover, Songren had him late in life, and Songi is his youngest son, extremely doted on. Songren and my father have a very good relationship. Although my father loves me, he also considers the family. Not only that, Songren is a direct descendant of the Song family. His grandfather is the ancestor of the Song family and has a good relationship with the ancestor of our Yuju family.
As Yuju spoke, she felt a bit desperate. The status of the family's ancestor was such that if Song Yi sought help from the ancestor, and the Song family ancestor and the Yuju family ancestor spoke, her father wouldn't be able to refuse even if he wanted to. Lin Moyu sipped his tea.
So, what do you want me to do?
Yuju thought for a moment.
How about you make a sacrifice, and we make it a done deal, so I don't have to marry him?
Lin Moyu almost spat out his iced tea. Yuju was really bold to come up with such an idea. He knew that in such families, a woman's chastity was highly valued. Losing one's virginity before marriage would result in severe punishment. Lin Moyu shook his head.
This method won't work.
Yuju sighed, as if she had already anticipated Lin Moryu's refusal.
How about you propose to my father? If I marry you, I won't have to marry Song Yi. With your status and position, my father will definitely agree.
Lin Moyu smiled and shook his head.
I have a wife. What?
Yuju was stunned, her face turning pale.
Captain, you're married?
Lin Moyu smiled.
I got married in the small world, and I have more than one wife.
Yuju was full of disappointment. After hesitating for a long time, she gathered her courage again.
Then can you marry one more?
At that moment, Lin Moyu found Yuju somewhat cute, a bit naive, and a bit pitiful. She usually imitated the demeanor of her elders, but no matter how well she imitated, she was still an inexperienced young girl. Although she was much older than Lin Moyu, she still behaved like a young girl. Seeing Yuju's worried and expectant face, Lin Moyu couldn't help but reach out and pat her head. Her soft hair brushed against his fingertips, and Lin Moryu's gentle voice followed.
Don't worry, I have a way.
Yuju's eyes lit up.
What way?
She had come to trust Lin Moryu's words without any doubt. If Lin Moryu said he had a way, then there must be a way. Lin Moyu closed his eyes slightly, connected to the Human Emperor network, and sent a message to Lady Yu. Lady Yu was the ancestor of the Yuju family. As long as she spoke, no one would oppose. Since that was the case, there was no need to think of other methods. Just go directly to Lady Yu. Within a minute of sending the message, Lin Moyu received a reply from Lady Yu. Lin Moyu opened his eyes and looked at Yuju, who was full of anticipation, and smiled.
It's resolved.
1783, 1783. Chapter 1783. Unconsciously starting to overlook. Yuju's eyes sparkled like stars at this moment.
Really?
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
When have I ever lied to you? From now on, your father won't force you. As long as you don't agree, the entire Yuju family won't force you.
Although Yuju believed Lin Moyu, her heart was filled with questions. Just a little over a minute ago, Lin Moyu had closed his eyes, clearly connected to the Human Emperor network. In her view, a matter as significant as this was resolved so easily by Lin Moyu. She knew her father's character well. Her father was stubborn, almost like an old mule. Once he decided on something, not even a dragon could pull him back. Yuju was full of doubts.
Captain, what did you do?
Lin Moyu smiled mysteriously.
You should know soon. Come, pour some tea.
Yuju's delicate eyebrows furrowed slightly, but she still carefully poured tea for Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu didn't say anything more and just waited quietly. In less than half a minute, Yuju suddenly trembled, her eyes naturally closing. Lin Moyu knew she had received a message from the Human Emperor network. Yuju's eyes were closed, and her brows were filled with shock. Lin Moyu leisurely sipped his tea, no longer just drinking it but savoring it. His state of mind gradually calmed down, unhurried and relaxed. The aura from the previous battle gradually faded, becoming weaker and weaker until it disappeared completely. Suddenly, Lin Moyu felt a sense of transcendence. He didn't know when it started, but he could now look down on many things from a higher perspective. Perhaps his realm wasn't high enough, but the people and things he encountered, the enemies he killed, were already different from others. Unconsciously, he began to overlook. What troubled Yuju could be resolved with just a few words, without any difficulty. Some of his small actions could influence others' destinies. It seemed that everything around him was firmly under his control.
Power. Countless people are obsessed with power because it brings unimaginable authority. In the mortal world, people yearn for royal power. Cultivators pursue higher realms. In the end, it's all about looking down from above. Unfortunately, this is not what I want.
Lin Moryu's soul gently touched the coffin of slumber. This coffin, which he had personally refined, held his 4 beloved wives, who were quietly sleeping inside. Time had stopped for them, waiting for him to awaken them. Lin Moryu's thoughts returned, and he saw a pair of bright eyes. The eyes were filled with 3 parts admiration and 7 parts affection. Lin Moryu had a moment of daze, remembering that Ning Yi had once looked at him with such eyes.
Captain, how did you do it?
Yuju's clear and melodious voice rang out. Lin Moryu could roughly guess Yuju's experience just now.
Is it resolved?
Yuju nodded vigorously.
It's resolved. The ancestor personally contacted me and said that from now on, I only need to listen to myself, not even my father. The ancestor's words are absolute in our Yuju family. No one dares to disobey, not even my father. Captain, but how did you do it?
Lin Moryu smiled.
I just told Lady Yu about your situation. She said she would handle it and told you not to worry.
Yuju could tell that Lin Moryu was being evasive, but she was smart enough not to press further. Now Yuju's mood was wonderful. The big issue that had been troubling her was finally resolved, and she no longer had to worry. Lin Moryu put down his teacup.
All right, it's time to get down to business. I have a batch of items to trade, and there are many of them.
Returning to her old profession, Yuju became professional.
You always have a lot of items. As usual, give me the most precious ones first, and I'll appraise them for you.
Lin Moryu didn't know which items were the most precious. He had too many storage items and hadn't checked them all. He took out several storage items, including those of the Abyssal Dragon Demon and some peak god sovereigns. These items should be the most precious. Each storage item carried the aura of its former owner. Lin Moyu hadn't had them for long, so the aura hadn't completely dissipated. Yuju was impacted by the aura, her face turning pale, and she was slightly injured. Her realm was too low. A peak god sovereign could kill her with just a glance. Lin Moyu flicked a wisp of white light onto Yuju, making her feel better. Yuju, still shocked, said,
Captain, these items are terrifying.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Which one do you think is the most terrifying?
Yuju carefully examined them and pointed to one.
I think this one is the most terrifying.
Lin Moyu chuckled.
Good eye. This is the storage item of the Abyssal Dragon Demon, the strongest among these god sovereigns, an other shore realm being.
Yuju looked at Lin Moyu with confusion.
What is the other shore realm?
Lin Moyu thought for a moment.
It's the realm above God Sovereign, the same level as your family's ancestor.
Yuju's hair stood on end, as if struck by lightning. She couldn't believe Lin Moryu's words.
Captain, are you serious?
Lin Moyu nodded.
Yes, it's true. The others belong to peak god sovereigns.
Although it was hard to believe, Yuju still trusted Lin Moyu. She reached out her small hand and picked up the storage item of the Abyssal Dragon Demon. It was clear she was very nervous, her hand trembling. An other shore realm being on the same level as her family's ancestor. Now, his storage item was in her hand. What about him? He must be dead. Was he killed by Lin Moyu? Was Lin Moryu's combat power that strong? Was it possible? But the storage item was right here. If not Lin Moyu, who else could have done it? Yuju's mind was filled with countless questions. She looked at the storage item, then at Lin Moyu. In her shock, she looked 7 parts cute. Lin Moyu couldn't help but reach out and tap her head.
What are you thinking? The Abyssal Dragon Demon wasn't killed by me. It was Senior Zhu who killed him.
To be precise, it was Zhu Qiwu's token that killed him. Yuju finally understood.
That makes sense. But the captain is still amazing, being able to fight alongside Senior Zhu.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Stop talking nonsense and start appraising.
Yuju responded.
These items are too valuable, beyond my authority. I need to have the elders in my family appraise them together.
Lin Moyu nodded.
Do as you see fit.
The Yuju family controlled the trading center and had a very complex and strict set of rules for the entire transaction. There were detailed regulations on what level of treasures could be appraised and valued. Not to mention items from the other shore realm, even those from peak god sovereigns were beyond Yuju's authority. In fact, Yuju hadn't expected the items Lin Moyu brought to be of such high level. Yuju contacted the elders in her family through the Human Emperor network. A few seconds later, Yuju said,
Captain, the elders in my family are on their way. Please have some tea. They should be here soon.
Lin Moyu nodded.
No rush.
At this moment, footsteps were heard in the courtyard, and a middle-aged man appeared outside the pavilion. 1784, 1784. Chapter 1784. Are you selling your daughter? Selling the Yu family's daughter? The middle-aged man was named Yu Chungkong, with cultivation at the 7th tier of the God-Sovereign realm. His appearance bore some resemblance to Yuju. Seeing the newcomer, Yuju immediately stood up and called out sweetly,
Father.
Yu Chungkong snorted.
If I didn't come looking for you, you weren't planning to come back, were you?
Yuju said in a small voice.
That's not true. I just wanted to gain some experience out here.
Yu Chungkong snorted again.
Experience? I think you're clearly trying to run away.
His tone was somewhat stern, but Lin Moyu could see that he treated Yuju very well. Some emotions, no matter what is said, cannot be hidden in one's eyes. Yu Chungkong didn't enter the pavilion because there was a guest inside. Although the formation hadn't been activated and the transaction hadn't officially begun, rules were rules. When there was a guest in the pavilion, only the trader and the guest could be inside. No one else could enter without an invitation, and only the trader could extend invitations. Yu Chengkang looked at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu had concealed his information, but the God King realm aura on his body couldn't fool him. When Yu Chengkang looked at Lin Moyu had already shifted his gaze to Yu Chengkang's side. Beside him stood a young man. This young man was none other than Song Yi, whom Yuzhu had mentioned. Song Yi was handsome and elegant, with an extraordinary demeanor. Although he was only at the third tier of the God King realm, his aura was profound, incomparable to ordinary third-tier God Kings. Lin Moyu guessed that he probably had the ability to challenge those above his level, truly a genius. After arriving, Song Yi remained silent, but his gaze was fixed on Yuzhu, his eyes flickering with admiration. Unfortunately, it was a case of unrequited love. In matters of the heart, mutual feelings are necessary. Yu Chengkang spoke again.
Yuzhu, didn't you see that senior brother Song has come too? Why didn't you greet him?
Yuzhu made a sound and gave Song Yi a slight bow.
Hello, senior brother Song.
Her words were lifeless, and even the etiquette wasn't quite proper. Yu Chengkang frowned, somewhat displeased, but Song Yi had already spoken.
Hello, junior sister Yuzhu. It's been a long time.
Yuzhu made a sound of acknowledgement but said nothing more, instead looking at Yu Chengkang. The implication was clear. You told me to greet him, and I did. As for further conversation, there would be none. Yu Chengkang knew his daughter well. Under normal circumstances, he would have scolded her immediately, but with an outsider present, he still wanted to save face for Yuzhu. Yu Chengkang looked at Lin Moyu.
Young friend, could you find another trader for your transaction? This old man would like to have a word with my daughter.
As a high-ranking god sovereign, Yu Chengkang thought that once he spoke, Lin Moyu, a mere god king, would surely agree. However, Lin Moyu lightly shook his head.
I've grown accustomed to dealing with Sister Yuzhu over the years. I'm not comfortable with other traders.
Yu Chengkang frowned, not expecting Lin Moyu to refuse his request. This young man didn't give him any face at all. He had good self-control and didn't argue with Lin Moyu, instead saying,
Then I'll trouble you to complete your transaction quickly.
Lin Moyu shook his head again.
There's no rush. I have many items to trade, and I'm waiting for people to arrive.
Yuzhu chimed in.
That's right. We have many items to trade, and they're very valuable. Father, why don't you wait outside for a while? As for how long it will take, we don't know yet.
At this point, Yu Chengkang's expression became even more serious.
Yuzhu, you know there are some things you can't avoid.
He felt that Yuzhu and Lin Moyu were cooperating to stall for time. He simply didn't believe that a mere god king could have anything so valuable to trade. Yuzhu smiled brightly.
Father, I'm not trying to avoid anything anymore. The ancestor said that I can make my own decisions about my affairs, and you can't coerce me.
Yu Chengkang's expression changed.
The ancestor?
Yuzhu nodded.
If you don't believe me, you can ask the ancestor yourself.
Yu Chengkang snorted.
Do you think you can just ask the ancestor whenever you want?
Yuzhu didn't care what Yu Chengkang said.
Anyway, the ancestor has spoken. I can make my own decisions. Senior brother Song Yi, let me say it again. I don't like you, and I won't marry you. Please leave and don't come back. Outrageous.
Yu Chengkang shouted angrily, instinctively about to rush in. Yuzhu snorted.
Father, don't forget the rules.
Yu Chengkang's raised foot was put down again. By now, Song Yi's expression had become very unpleasant. Yuzhu's blunt rejection made him lose face. If it had been in private, that would have been one thing, but there was an outsider present. Lin Moyu was leisurely sipping tea with a smile, looking like he was enjoying the show, which made Song Yi extremely unhappy. Song Yi tried hard to suppress his anger.
Junior sister Yuzhu, I truly like you.
Since things had come to this point, Yuzhu completely let go.
You like me, so I have to marry you? There are plenty of people in this world who like me. Should I marry all of them? Did you queue up? You think that just because you proposed to my father, I have no choice? Following me around like a stinking bug wherever I go. Do you know how annoying you are? Please go find someone who likes you and whom you like, okay?
Yuju spoke rapidly and urgently, revealing her true nature. Song Yi's face grew increasingly unpleasant. Yu Chungkong hadn't expected his daughter to speak like this suddenly and couldn't react for a moment. Clap, clap, clap. Applause suddenly rang out. Lin Moyu was clapping his hands.
Well said. Matters of the heart should be mutual. How can there be forced marriages? To outsiders, it might seem like the Yu family's daughter has no suitors.
Yu Chungkong said in a low voice.
Young friend, this is a matter of my Yu family.
Lin Moyu smiled.
I am Yuju's friend. Speaking up for a friend seems only natural to me.
Song Yi finally couldn't hold back.
You brat, do you know the status of the Yu family? Do you know who I am?
Lin Moyu laughed out loud.
If we're talking reason, let's talk reason. If we're talking feelings, let's talk feelings. Why bring up status now?
Yuju echoed Lin Moryu's words.
That's right. Always talking about status. So what if you're from the Song family? I'm from the Yu family. Is our Yu family inferior to your Song family? Silence!
Yu Chungkong shouted sternly. Yuju's words had directly raised the issue to the relationship between the Yu family and the Song family. This way, even Yu Chungkong couldn't bear the responsibility. Yu Chungkong's face was full of anger.
Do you know what you're saying?
Yuju snorted.
Do you know what you're doing? You're selling your daughter, selling the Yu family's daughter.
Yuju's words were extremely sharp. Yu Chungkong felt for a moment that the daughter before him was somewhat unfamiliar. In his memory, Yuju's personality did have a touch of feistiness, but she would never say such things. At this moment, he noticed Lin Moyu. When Yuju spoke, her gaze unconsciously turned to Lin Moyu.
These words must have been taught by this boy.
Yu Chungkong suddenly realized that Yuju's strong reaction today must be related to the young man before him. Song Yi seemed not to have realized the seriousness of the situation and instinctively said,
It's not like that. Junior sister Yuju has misunderstood.
PDF 1785 Chapter 1785 I won't marry anyone except the captain. Lin Moyu slightly shook his head, as if to say,
So young and naive.
Now that the issue had escalated to this point, Song Yi was still trying to argue, which was truly unwise. The accusation of selling the Yu family's daughter was too heavy for even Yu Chungkong to bear. Yu Chungkong's face turned red.
You ungrateful girl, do you know what you're saying?
Yuju snorted.
I already told you before, the ancestor said I could decide who to marry, but you didn't believe me. So don't blame me. In my view, you're selling your daughter. For the sake of your so-called friendship, you don't care about your daughter's happiness. I'm a member of the Yu family, so you're selling the Yu family's daughter.
Unspoken rules are unspoken because everyone knows them but can't publicly acknowledge them. What was originally an unspoken rule of intermarriage between prominent families was now being openly discussed by Yuju in a different way. And every word made sense, leaving Yu Chungkong unable to refute. At this moment, Yu Chungkong's face had turned extremely ugly. He glared at his daughter but couldn't say a word in rebuttal. Lin Moyu leisurely drank his tea, giving Yuju a look of approval. Yu Chungkong said,
I'm doing this for your own good.
Yuju coldly replied,
That's too grandiose a reason, but I don't accept it. I have someone I like. If you truly care about me, then don't stop me. Everyone's happiness is something they must strive for themselves. I will strive for my own happiness, without regret.
After saying this, Yuju turned to Lin Moyu and smiled beautifully. Their eyes met, and Lin Moryu's expression changed slightly, showing surprise, unexpectedness, and a bit of a headache. Some of the words Yuju had just said were indeed taught by Lin Moyu. He knew that even if Lady Yu's words suppressed the situation, Yu Chungkong would still be dissatisfied, and Song Yi would continue to pester. So he had Yuju speak decisively and put a heavy label on it. But the last few sentences he hadn't taught her. Even Song Yi, as dense as he was, now understood that Yuju was acting this way because she had someone she liked. And that person was the young man in front of him. Song Yi immediately directed his anger at Lin Moyu. His gaze like sharp arrows piercing Lin Moyu, gritting his teeth.
It's you!
Good upbringing prevented him from uttering too many harsh words. But his anger was evident. Lin Moyu sighed.
You're playing with fire.
This wasn't directed at Song Yi but at Yuju. Yuju bit her silver teeth.
Like a moth to a flame, I'm willing.
Lin Moyu felt a bit helpless, but he couldn't refuse Yuju now. Otherwise, it would push Yuju to a dead end, and Yuju was one of his few friends. He couldn't do such a thing.
Sit down.
Lin Moyu gestured for Yuju to sit. Yuju obediently sat down and poured tea for Lin Moyu. This made Song Yi even more furious, his eyes enough to kill. Lin Moyu looked at Song Yi.
A forced melon is not sweet. You should give up.
Song Yi gritted his teeth.
Who do you think you are?
He wanted to rush in and kill Lin Moyu, but Yu Chungkong stood in his way. Rules are rules, and they are the bottom line of the Yu family. No matter how angry Yu Chungkong was, the rules couldn't be broken. Lin Moyu softly said,
For the sake of your family's ancestor, I won't argue with you.
Song Yi sneered.
Who do you think you are? My ancestor doesn't need your respect. Get out here, and I'll teach you a lesson.
Lin Moyu shook his head, not wanting to waste more words with Song Yi. He turned to Yu Chungkong.
Senior, you are Yuju's father, and I am Yuju's friend, so I respect you. But you should ask Lady Yu about this matter. To be blunt, as long as I'm here, you can't force Yuju. If I want to take Yuju away, you can't stop me.
Lin Moyu spoke slowly, his voice not loud but full of power. Yu Chungkong felt the aura of a superior from Lin Moyu. For a moment, he wondered if he had misjudged something. The young man before him might not be just a god king but a god sovereign, perhaps even stronger than himself. After saying this, Lin Moyu said no more, taking the tea Yuju handed him and sipping it slowly. Song Yi was about to explode with anger, wanting to say something, but Yu Chungkong stopped him. Yu Chungkong said,
Don't be hasty. Let me ask the ancestor.
Song Yi had to suppress his anger. Yu Chungkong was his elder, and he couldn't argue. Yu Chungkong connected to the Human Emperor Network and contacted Lady Yu. As a high-ranking god sovereign of the Yu family, he could indeed contact Lady Yu. But under normal circumstances, they wouldn't contact their ancestor unless necessary. His expression changed from serious to shocked, becoming very complex. Yuju saw this and snorted.
You should have contacted her earlier. You just wouldn't listen.
Lin Moyu smiled.
People always like to act based on their own experience. They don't pay much attention to the words of those they consider weak.
Yuju snorted.
He's always like this, a male chauvinist. He never listens to me or my mother.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Now it's resolved. Lady, you will give him the answer. But you, saying such things, aren't you afraid you won't be able to marry in the future?
Yuju gathered her courage.
I won't marry anyone except the captain. If the captain doesn't want me, I'll remain single for life.
Her words were firm, and Lin Moyu could tell she wasn't joking. At this moment, he couldn't give Yuju any answer. A few minutes later, Yu Chungkong opened his eyes again. His gaze was very complex, looking at Yuju, then at Lin Moyu, opening his mouth but not knowing what to say. Song Yi nervously asked,
Uncle, what did Lady Yu say?
Yuju snorted.
What else could she say? I already told you, I will decide my own marriage. I won't marry you. Give up.
Yu Chungkong sighed.
The ancestor ordered me not to interfere in Yuju's marriage.
At this moment, he felt a sense of relief, as if a burden had been lifted. Song Yi trembled.
This can't be. Our families have been close for generations, with many intermarriages. Lady, you wouldn't disagree. There must be a mistake. I'll go to my ancestor and have him talk to Lady Yu.
Yu Chengkang said nothing. At this point, he had nothing more to say. Whether it was the Song family's ancestor or his own, he couldn't offend either. He looked at Lin Moyu with a complex expression, unable to see through this young man. At this moment, more footsteps were heard, and someone approached. The newcomer was dignified and elegant, with an indescribable grace in her steps, and her appearance was stunningly beautiful. Song Yi, who had been furious a moment ago, couldn't take his eyes off her. The newcomer seemed to have an irresistible charm, drawing everyone's attention. Lin Moyu also looked at her with admiration. She was one of the most charming female cultivators he had ever seen. However, Lin Moryu's admiration was purely appreciation, without any other feelings. Yu Chengkang saw the newcomer and immediately bowed.
Chengkang greets Aunt Qing.
Yu Bingqing nodded and walked past Yu Chengkang into the pavilion. She gracefully bowed to Lin Moyu.
Bingqing greets Mr. Lin.
1786 1786. Chapter 1786. The transaction has just begun. The words,
Mr. Lin,
from Yu Bingqing's mouth were like a thunderclap, leaving Yu Chengkang stunned. Yu Bingqing and Lady Yu were of the same generation, only one generation lower than Lady Yu, and a generation higher than him. Yu Bingqing was at the peak of the God-sovereign realm and was said to be on the verge of breaking through to the same realm as Lady Yu, becoming the second ancestor of the Yu family. For various reasons, Yu Bingqing held an extraordinary position in the Yu family, far beyond what he could compare to. Usually, Yu Bingqing was in charge of the Yu family's transactions in the 4-star domains. When Lady Yu was not present, she was the spokesperson for the Yu family in the 4-star domains. Yet such a person addressed Lin Moyu as
Mr.
and with a very humble attitude. Yu Chengkang felt disoriented, wondering if he had been in seclusion for too long and the world had changed. He recalled Lin Moryu's earlier words about their valuable transaction and waiting for someone. Unexpectedly, the person they were waiting for turned out to be Yu Bingqing. What kind of transaction would require such a person to be present? The formation of the pavilion activated. Layers of light screens descended, enveloping the entire pavilion. Yu Chengkang looked at the pavilion with a complex expression. After a moment of silence, he said to Song Yi beside him,
Nephew, you should go back first. As for your matter with Yuzhu, we will discuss it further.
Song Yi's mood was equally complex. He replied in a low voice,
All right, I'll trouble you, uncle.
He had already decided to seek out his great-grandfather. He knew that only his great-grandfather's intervention could give him hope in the current situation. Song Yi left, while Yu Chengkang stood still, waiting quietly. Lin Moyu was a god king. He couldn't be mistaken. So the issue must lie in Lin Moryu's identity. He was eager to know who Lin Moyu really was, to be able to speak directly with Lady Yu and be addressed as
Mr.
by Yu Bingqing. Inside the pavilion, Yuzhu introduced Yu Bingqing's identity to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu stood up and bowed to Yu Bingqing.
Lin Moyu greets Senior.
Yu Bingqing quickly avoided Lin Moryu's bow.
Mr. Lin, you jest. I cannot accept your bow.
As a high-ranking member of the Yu family and one of its leaders, she had access to a lot of information. She knew that Lady Yu and Lin Moyu were on equal terms, so she couldn't accept such a bow from him. Lin Moyu didn't insist and got straight to the point.
Then, Senior, please appraise and estimate the value.
Yu Bingqing nodded and sat down beside Yuzhu. She first picked up the storage artifact of the Abyssal Dragon Demon. After carefully sensing it, she said,
This is indeed an Other Shore Realm storage artifact. Among the demon clan, only one Abyssal Dragon Demon reached the Other Shore Realm. However, he was severely injured in a battle thousands of years ago and never appeared again. I didn't expect him to die at Mr. Lin's hands.
Yu Bingqing's words carried a hint of reminiscence, indicating that she had some involvement in that battle. Yuzhu softly asked,
Aunt Qing, why did that battle happen?
Yu Bingqing lovingly patted Yuzhu's head.
You weren't born yet at that time. I was only a god king then and only heard about the battle. I didn't participate personally, so I don't know the details.
As she spoke, she opened the storage artifact and began to take out and appraise the items inside. Only someone like her, with her level of expertise, could accurately appraise items left by another shore realm or peak god sovereign. Yu Bingqing's movements were swift, and she was very familiar with each item and material, quickly and accurately giving their value. While appraising, she also briefly explained the function and grade of each item, making it clear for Lin Moyu. In just over 10 minutes, the Abyssal Dragon Demon's relics were fully appraised. Then Yu Bingqing began to appraise the relics of various peak god sovereigns, maintaining her speed. From the unit prices she provided, it was clear that the collections of peak god sovereigns were far inferior to those of the other shore realm. Different realms had access to different things, which was normal. 2 hours later, the relics of over a dozen peak god sovereigns were also fully appraised. Yu Bingqing said,
Most of Mr. Lin's items are from other races. If our human race wants to use them, it will require considerable effort and cost. So their value needs to be discounted accordingly. After my calculations, Mr. Lin's spoils are worth 4.8 billion points.
4.8 billion points was an astronomical figure for most cultivators. Many weaker cultivators struggled for just a few hundred points. Lin Moryu's gains were measured in billions. 4.8 billion points were even more than the wealth of some god sovereigns. Lin Moyu nodded.
No problem. Let's trade at 4.8 billion points.
Yu Bingqing smiled.
All right, I'll have the points transferred to you.
Lin Moyu stopped her.
Senior, please wait. This is just part of the transaction.
Yu Bingqing was momentarily stunned, but then sat back down.
Then let's continue and settle everything at the end.
Lin Moyu lightly tapped the table, and immediately, a large number of storage artifacts flew out. The storage artifacts were of various shapes, piling up into a small mountain, and Lin Moyu showed no sign of stopping, continuing to release more. Yuju covered her mouth in surprise.
How can there be so many?
Yu Bingqing waved her hand, and the formation in the pavilion changed, rapidly expanding the space. The formation of the pavilion had multiple functions, including space expansion, though it was rarely used. Lin Moyu seemed like a bottomless pit, endlessly producing storage artifacts. Yu Bingqing's gaze grew complex. Each storage artifact represented a powerful being. How many people had Lin Moyu killed? She could sense that the owners of these storage artifacts included god sovereigns, god kings, and true gods. Most of them were god kings, and most of them were from the Golden Eagle clan. Yu Bingqing thought of an incident that had occurred not long ago in the Xuanwu battlefield. Lin Moyu piled up the storage artifacts into a small mountain. When it seemed enough, he moved to another spot and continued piling. In the pavilion's expanded space, a second small mountain appeared. Then a third, fourth, and fifth pile. When 10 small mountains had formed, Lin Moyu finally stopped producing new storage artifacts. 10 small mountains, each with at least 100,000 storage artifacts. In total, there were over 1 million storage artifacts. Yuju was already dumbfounded, her mouth agape, unable to speak, looking quite adorable. Even the well-informed Yu Bingqing's eyelids twitched.
Mr. Lin, what a grand gesture.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Sorry to trouble you, Senior.
Yu Bingqing suddenly lowered her voice.
Mr. Lin, not long ago in the Xuanwu battlefield.
Before she could finish, Lin Moyu nodded.
It was me. Please keep it confidential.
Yu Bingqing took a deep breath.
Rest assured, our Yu family will keep it secret.
She then issued orders calling for more appraisers to come. 1787, 1787. Chapter 1787. It seems there are still many poor people. Yu Chengkong, who was waiting outside the pavilion, suddenly looked up towards the end of the backyard. Several figures appeared there, wearing similar attire and having similar appearances, all of them women. In the Yu family, the division of labor between women and men was completely different. The trading center was managed by women, and the traders were all women. Men were responsible for other family affairs. Yu Chengkong knew that those coming now were all traders, a total of 50 traders. The traders passed by Yu Chengkong and then entered the pavilion where Lin Moyu was. Yu Chengkong's eyelids kept twitching, his heart pounding.
So many traders are needed. How big must this transaction be?
He thought again of what Lin Moyu had said, that this transaction was not only valuable but also extremely large in quantity. It seemed Lin Moyu was telling the truth, but Yu Chengkong couldn't have imagined the quantity would be this large. To actually require 50 traders, this must be all the traders in Fortress Number 1.
What kind of transaction is this exactly?
Yu Chengkong was very puzzled, his curiosity rising, but unfortunately, he couldn't know. The formation of the pavilion blocked his curiosity. Inside the pavilion, the 50 traders, looking at the 10 small mountains of storage treasures, were all stunned, unable to speak for a long time. Yu Bingqing instructed,
The 50 of you form groups of 5, each group choose one pile.
The 50 traders acknowledged the order simultaneously and immediately took action. Yu Bingqing sat with Lin Moyu, drinking tea and chatting about some casual matters. Yu Zhu served them on the side, never interrupting, very obedient. Yu Bingqing's conversation was very skillful, never touching on Lin Moryu's secrets, only chatting about what Lin Moyu had seen and heard. Lin Moyu knew this was truly a master. From seemingly unintentional details, one could deduce a lot of information. Moreover, Yu Bingqing's voice was gentle and wouldn't make people feel annoyed. While answering, Lin Moyu also asked about some things he didn't know, such as the world beyond the star domains. Yu Bingqing had lived for thousands of years. Her experiences and what she had heard were far richer than his. There was much to gain from this. Not everything could be queried in the Human Emperor network. Through the conversation with Yu Bingqing, Lin Moyu gained some information about the world outside the human race. The great world was vast, how vast, no one knew. It was said that no one had ever reached the edge of the great world. The human race's star domain only occupied a very small area in the great world. However, most of the great world was void. Stars were rare or even non-existent. The light of fixed stars could radiate for countless light years. The farther the distance, the weaker the starlight. In many places of the great world, even starlight couldn't reach. Such places were not just dark voids, but truly desolate and distant. Yet in this desolate distance, countless dangers and opportunities were hidden. Someone once found a cave dwelling in a remote void. This cave dwelling was from an ancient powerful cultivator. He went through 9 deaths and 1 life in the cave dwelling, and finally obtained the inheritance of that powerful cultivator. When he entered, he was only a god king, but when he came out, he was already a peak god sovereign. He returned to the divine city, established a sect, and soon advanced to the other shore. There were countless such stories. Some people gained opportunities while others were very unfortunate. Many people disappeared in the vast starry sky and never returned. In the conversation with Yu Bingqing, Lin Moyu also gained an important piece of information. It was said that war god Xiao Zhantian had also traveled the world outside the star domains, and for quite a few years. Later, his ability to soar and save the human race from disaster was also inseparable from those years of travel. Later, when Xiao Zhantian established the War God Temple, he had ordered that people of the War God Temple, after reaching the God King realm, must travel outside the star domains. Yu Bingqing just told this to Lin Moyu like a story. These things were not secrets. Because there was no evidence and no way to verify, it could only be treated as a story. But it was true that people of the War God Temple, after the God King realm, needed to travel outside the star domains. And there was indeed a teleportation array in the War God Temple leading to the outer realm. This was not false. Yu Bingqing had used it once. In the conversation with Yu Bingqing, Lin Moyu gained a new understanding of the world outside the human race, initially experiencing the mystery of the great world. The great world was vast. Various races were hidden in different parts of the great world. Apart from the known strong races whose territories had been locked down, there were more small races whose star domains were still unknown. In distant places, there might be even more unknown races existing. After 2 full days of joint efforts by the 50 traders, the appraisal and valuation were finally completed. The final price was also summarized to Yu Bingqing. Yu Bingqing said to the 50 traders,
"What happened today? Once you leave this trading room, you must all forget. You all know the family rules. I don't need to remind you again, right?"
The 50 people immediately responded in unison.
"Yes, ma'am."
The 50 people left in single file, leaving as quietly as they had come, demonstrating the Yu family's strict rules. The trading room returned to silence, and Yu Bingqing said softly,
"Sir, the total amount has come out. Your single transaction amount has exceeded the highest record of our Yu family."
Yuju couldn't help but exclaim,
"Ancestor Qing, I remember the highest single transaction amount was 15.8 billion points, right?"
Yu Bingqing nodded slightly.
Yuju remembers correctly, but that transaction record was actually from the Heavenly Sword sect. After a great battle, they gathered all the spoils of the entire sect and conducted a single transaction.
Yuju made an
"Oh"
sound.
Ancestor Qing, how much is today's transaction amount?
Previously, each trader had sent the amount to Yu Bingqing through the Human Emperor network, and except for Yu Bingqing, no one knew the specific number. Yu Bingqing smiled slightly.
Including the previous 4.8 billion, the total is 32.6 billion.
When she reported the number, she kept looking at Lin Moyu. To her disappointment, Lin Moyu was drinking tea on his own, and after hearing this shocking number, he had no reaction at all, not even a hint of excitement. She didn't know if Lin Moyu was pretending to be calm, or if he really didn't feel anything. At this moment, Lin Moyu sighed lightly.
"It seems there are still many poor people."
Not counting the previous 4.8 billion, the million storage treasures afterward only exchanged for 27.8 billion points. On average, the materials and items in each storage treasure were only worth 27,800 points, not even reaching 30,000 points. If the storage treasures of the God Sovereigns were excluded, the average for the rest would be even less. It was enough to see how poor those guys were. Just like in the human race, some people would fight over a few hundred points, while his transactions were in billions each time, and this time even broke the record, exceeding 30 billion. This was the unevenness of the world. Absolute fairness doesn't exist in any race. Lin Moyu calmly said,
"I have no objection to this amount. Let's proceed with the transaction at 32.6 billion. Also, I want to buy some things."
1788 1788. Chapter 1788. I'll just wait for the captain. Lin Moyu told her what he wanted to buy. After listening, Yu Bingqing frowned slightly.
"The items you want may not be easy to find. I'll have the family try to locate them, but it may take some time."
Lin Moyu smiled.
"I'm not in a hurry. Just contact me when you have them. Do you need a deposit?"
Yu Bingqing quickly shook her head.
"No need. With your credit, even the most expensive items don't require a deposit."
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
"Thank you, Senior."
The transaction was complete. Lin Moyu obtained 32.6 billion points and would also receive 3.26 million military merits. Lin Moyu didn't know how many military merits he had now. For this Divine City promotion mission, he had completed it perfectly, killing over 1 million Golden Eagle clan members, including 20 God Sovereigns. Later, he also killed many demons in the Vermilion Bird battlefield, which should also earn military merits. Due to the promotion mission, his military merits hadn't been tallied yet. They would be calculated together when he returned to Divine City. But even without counting the above military merits, just the 3.26 million from this transaction was enough for him to be promoted to general. However, to be promoted to general, he still needed to complete a promotion mission. Lin Moyu didn't know what the promotion mission would be. Outside the pavilion, Yu Chengkong, who had been waiting for 3 days, suddenly saw Yu Bingqing walk out. The formation was still activated, so he couldn't see inside. As Yu Bingqing passed by Yu Chengkong, she stopped and said,
"Chengkong, Yuju's judgment is much better than yours." don't interfere with Yuju's marriage anymore. Whatever happens in the future will be Yuju's own choice. This is the ancestors' meaning you should understand. I know you have a good relationship with Songrin, but sometimes the flower may have the intention, but the flowing water is indifferent. By the way, Yuju and the gentleman have already left. You don't need to keep waiting here. As for when they'll return, that's up to Yuju. With the gentleman around, she'll be fine.
Yu Chengkong asked in a low voice.
Aunt Qing, who exactly is that gentleman?
Yu Bingqing said.
You'll naturally find out the gentleman's identity in the future. I can only tell you that the ancestor and the gentleman are peers. So if this matter works out, you'll have gained a huge advantage, understand?
After saying this, Yu Bingqing left without lingering. The pavilion's formation was removed, revealing an empty interior. The pavilion was a trading room with a teleportation array inside. After completing transactions, one could leave directly. Yu Chengkong let out a long sigh and finally left. As he was leaving, he muttered,
My daughter has grown up. I can't control her anymore.
Vermilion Bird Star Domain, Life Star System number 98. This was the first star system Lin Moyu arrived at after entering the Great World. His initial registration and missions were all completed in this star system. Life Star System number 98 could be considered Lin Moryu's starting point in the Great World. Lin Moyu and Yuju appeared simultaneously in the teleportation array. Yuju blinked her eyes curiously.
So this is the star system where the captain first arrived.
Actually, after leaving Divine City, Yuju had spent most of her time in the trading center, then went to the battlefield, but still stayed in the trading center for long periods. She didn't know much about the outside world. The 4-star domains were quite different from Divine City. Lin Moyu sent a message to Renchang, but didn't receive a response for a long time. From the feedback of the Human Emperor Network, Renchang was still alive. Most likely he was on a mission or in secluded cultivation. Lin Moyu had originally wanted to have a drink with Renchang, but now he couldn't find him. The two flew away from Life Star System number 98, heading towards Small World number 3344. Small World number 3344 was located on the edge of human territory, with nothing else besides the small world. It was basically in a no-man's land where even other races could come. As long as they didn't go further in, the humans wouldn't interfere. Lin Moyu summoned the enslaved Golden Eagle God, Sovereign, to use as a mount, activating spatial leaps to travel quickly. Yuju stood on the Golden Eagle God Sovereign. Her curiosity piqued.
Wow, Captain, you're actually using a Golden Eagle God Sovereign as a mount.
Lin Moyu calmly said.
It's quite useful.
Yuju giggled.
This is many people's dream, but they can only imagine it. The captain is amazing, turning others' dreams into reality.
Lin Moyu looked ahead and said,
Your choice may not be the right one.
Yuju fidgeted a bit.
Whether it's right or wrong, it's my own business. Anyway, I've decided that I won't marry anyone except the captain in this life. I'm not trying to cling to the captain, I just want to follow along and see. When the captain returns to Divine City, I'll go back to the Yu family too. If the captain still remembers me, come visit me when you have time. If you forget, that's fine too. I'll just be waiting at home.
Lin Moyu felt a bit helpless. Yuju was his friend after all. He had already spoken very clearly, but Yuju still didn't care, which made Lin Moyu even more troubled. For Lin Moyu, it would be easier to fight enemies on the battlefield. From Yuju's eyes, Lin Moyu could feel her deep affection. This time she said she wanted to follow him around for a while, and when he returned to Divine City, she would go back too. Such a request was really hard to refuse. After the two left the pavilion via teleportation array, they first went to the military merit office to claim the merits earned from the transaction points. A full 3.26 million military merits shocked the staff at the military merit office. Then they left the battlefield and returned to the Vermilion Bird Star domain. During this time, Lin Moyu wanted to take on the promotion mission to become a general, but was told he couldn't because his Divine City mission wasn't completed yet. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry about this. Back in the Vermilion Bird Star domain, Lin Moyu wanted to take a look at his small world. He wouldn't return to his small world, as Antares had warned him not to come back. Lin Moyu just wanted to take a look. In Divine City, he had seen the ancient battlefield and traces left by Meng Anwen there. It was all like a huge mystery that kept troubling him. From time to time, Lin Moyu would recall the scenes he saw in the ancient battlefield. That broken Divine Summer Tower, although he knew it was just a replica, it was still the Divine Summer Tower. Anything related to Meng Anwen weighed heavily on Lin Moryu's mind. Lin Moyu was lost in his thoughts. Yuju stood cleverly to the side, not disturbing him. She looked at the rapidly passing starry sky around them. As they sped forward, the starry sky became distorted, creating a scene similar to teleportation but different, which was quite novel. The closer they got to his small world, the clearer Lin Moryu's sense became. An invisible aura emanated from his body, connecting to the small world through some special channel. This was an ability unique to him as the world's master. Even though he had left his small world, as long as he was within a certain distance, he could sense it. If he were inside the small world, he could control the world's power and manipulate the world at will. As he got closer to his homeland, he didn't feel homesick, only nostalgic. He missed the people in his homeland, the things and events there, and that unorthodox dragon.
Be careful.
Yuju let out a cry of alarm. A dazzling golden light shot towards them. Lin Moryu's heart stirred, and the mount beneath him immediately shifted thousands of miles to the side, avoiding the attack. 1789, 1789. Chapter 1789. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Seeing the attacker, it was a god sovereign from the Golden Eagle clan. This Golden Eagle clan god sovereign held a sharp bow, aiming directly at him. His eyes were filled with anger and killing intent, and Lin Moyu knew why he had attacked. Using a fellow clan member as a mount was indeed infuriating. Behind him, further away, there were several other god sovereigns. They came from various clans, including the Ox Demon clan, the Flying Python clan, and the Demon clan, among others. This area seemed to have become a conflict-free zone, where even god sovereigns from clearly hostile clans could coexist peacefully. Lin Moyu knew that for some special reasons, there were always god sovereigns surrounding the outside of his small world. They seemed to covet some treasure within the small world. However, they were also wary of the small world and dared not enter. According to the rules of the great world, god sovereigns indeed could not enter the small world. The power of god sovereigns was too strong. Once they entered the small world, it could easily cause the small world to collapse. The small world could not bear the power of god sovereigns. But Antares could stay inside safely, which was truly strange. It could only be said that his small world was very peculiar. So peculiar that Lin Moyu couldn't understand it.
Be careful.
The Golden Eagle clan god sovereign shot another arrow, this time releasing 100 arrows at once, with 100 golden lights covering the sky. Lin Moryu's mount once again flew thousands of kilometers in an instant, avoiding the attack. The arrows carried a terrifying pressure, making Yuju's face turn pale, her small face as white as a sheet.
Don't be afraid, it's okay.
Lin Moryu's calm tone inexplicably reassured Yuju. A golden sword appeared in his hand, and with a light wave, it shone with a light even more dazzling than the arrows. A golden shield appeared, blocking the sharp arrows. The pitch-black starry sky was illuminated, and Lin Moryu, carrying Yuju, flew out. At the same time, he pointed a finger at the Golden Eagle clan god sovereign. Fusion spell. Bone Hell. Bone Hell appeared out of thin air, enveloping the Golden Eagle clan god sovereign. The slaves in the hell immediately launched an attack on the Golden Eagle clan god sovereign, while the undying flames fell like meteors.
What is this?
The Golden Eagle clan god sovereign sneered disdainfully, casually shooting hundreds of arrows. The hell slaves fell one after another under the sharp arrows. The marking was completed, and Lin Moryu smiled slightly, a piece of flesh appearing in his hand. The flesh also exuded a strong god sovereign pressure. Its owner had been a third-tier god sovereign. And the Golden Eagle Clan God Sovereign in front of him was also a third-tier God Sovereign. The Golden Eagle Clan God Sovereign suddenly felt a sense of foreboding. Danger! Danger! His soul kept sending signals of danger. His feathers stood on end, each golden feather standing upright. A God Sovereign's soul was powerful, and their sixth sense was often very sharp. This time it also predicted danger, but it was too late. Boom! In a violent explosion, he was blown to pieces, his body shattered, wings broken, and his soul destroyed in the explosion. A dignified third-tier God Sovereign of the Golden Eagle Clan was so easily killed. The faces of those watching nearby instantly changed. They had wanted to see how the Golden Eagle Clan God Sovereign would kill this human God King. But now, the Golden Eagle Clan God Sovereign was killed in an instant. The situation reversed too quickly.
This guy is not a God King. He must be a high-tier God Sovereign, using a special treasure to hide his aura. Definitely, look at his shield. I can feel the power of rules from it.
The God Sovereigns from various clans watching the scene were all filled with fear. In their eyes, Lin Moyu was at least a high-tier God Sovereign. Otherwise, how could he have easily killed the Golden Eagle Clan God Sovereign? Lin Moyu put away the bone hell. The just-deceased Golden Eagle Clan God Sovereign had already become a slave of the bone hell, but unfortunately, he couldn't retain the ability of spatial leap. Now, there were 5 Golden Eagle Clan God Sovereigns in the bone hell. Originally, Lin Moyu wanted to collect some peak God Sovereigns as fighters, but unfortunately, their power was too strong. The bone hell would be destroyed in an instant, making it impossible to collect them. The spell was still a God King realm spell, and Lin Moyu knew he couldn't push it too far. Yuju's eyes sparkled.
The captain is so strong.
A third-tier God Sovereign was so easily killed, and Lin Moyu had only moved his fingers twice. Lin Moryu's strength had completely surpassed Yuju's imagination. This little fangirl had now upgraded to a big fangirl. Lin Moyu, carrying Yuju, flew over to the outside of the small world, his gaze sweeping over the God Sovereigns present. There were still 8 God Sovereigns present, and when they met Lin Moryu's gaze, they felt fear. Even the Demon Clan God Sovereign, who had an undying enmity with the human clan, didn't dare to make a sound, even feeling the urge to turn and flee. Lin Moyu looked at them.
Don't worry, I won't kill you. But the premise is, don't fight me.
As he spoke, his soul moved slightly, and a soul pressure belonging to the other shore realm naturally spread out. In an instant, all the God Sovereigns present broke out in a cold sweat. The soul pressure of the other shore realm made them feel as if they were facing an abyss. They immediately smiled obsequiously.
Rest assured, Senior, we definitely won't seek death. Senior is magnanimous and righteous.
They all flattered him, even the Demon Clan God Sovereign. To save their lives, face was not important. Lin Moyu said no more and looked towards the small world. Yuju stood quietly beside Lin Moyu, not disturbing him. Although surrounded by God Sovereigns from other clans, with Lin Moyu there, she felt very safe, not afraid at all. In her eyes, Lin Moryu's figure was so majestic, enough to shield her from all storms. Lin Moyu seemed to be observing the small world, but in fact, he was using the world's power to sense it. He didn't enter the small world, and the world's power wasn't like eyes, unable to see the scene clearly. He could only sense the overall state of the world. The world was running smoothly, indicating that the entire world was in a healthy state of development. The world's power had been severely damaged before, and recovery was slow, taking at least 1,000 years. But recovery was a good thing, and Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry. Then he sensed the aura of the gods. Before leaving, he had allocated a place for the gods to live, separating the gods from ordinary people. Normally, the gods wouldn't interact with ordinary people. But even if they did, it wouldn't have much impact. The gods had good personalities and weren't greedy for power. Then he sensed the aura of the human clan. The human clan's aura was calm and peaceful, indicating no wars had occurred. Unfortunately, he could only sense to this extent and couldn't get more detailed information. Lin Moyu tried to sense the ancient battlefield. The ancient battlefield was connected to the main world but was an independent space fragment. The world's power penetrated the ancient battlefield, and in an instant, a deafening voice echoed in his soul, and his connection with the world's power was instantly cut off.
Get out!
Lin Moyu recognized Antares' voice. This guy seemed to be in a strange state. Lin Moryu's heart tightened, wanting to check again. But suddenly the space in front of him shattered, and a dragon's breath shot out from the space, blasting him thousands of kilometers away. 1,790. Chapter 1790. Unconscious Death. The dragon breath was terrifying, collapsing space wherever it passed, and the dreadful power of rules spread recklessly through the starry sky. The god sovereigns who had been surrounding the small world were all scared out of their wits and fled immediately. Lin Moyu was blasted back tens of thousands of kilometers before he finally stabilized. Yuju clung tightly to Lin Moryu's back, nervously asking,
Captain, are you all right?
In her view, Lin Moyu had shielded her from the attack. She had been so frightened that she lost her ability to react. The sudden attack was far more terrifying than any god sovereign. Lin Moyu softly replied,
I'm fine.
At this moment, Lin Moryu's expression was extremely complex. He was indeed fine, not injured at all. The attack seemed fierce, but when it landed on him, it was just a powerful push, causing no harm. The seemingly terrifying force directly entered his body and then condensed into a dragon head in his soul. Antares' dragon head. Seeing the familiar head, Lin Moyu felt a mix of emotions. In his heart, Antares held the same status as a family member and a teacher, no different from Bai Yuan, Mengen, and others. The door to his soul world opened for Antares, and Lin Moryu's soul smiled.
Long time no see.
Antares glanced at Lin Moryu's soul and suddenly let out a strange cry.
Kid, you've reached the other shore realm.
Lin Moryu smiled slightly.
My cultivation realm is still at the God-King level, but my soul has reached the other shore.
Antares stared at him.
You're really a freak. All right, I don't have much time, so I'll keep it short. First, I'm fine, so don't worry. Second, get out of here quickly, as far as possible. It's not safe here. Third, I'll come to find you after I get out. Don't worry about how I'll find you. I have my ways. We'll talk more then. Lastly, when you break through to the other shore realm, don't take shortcuts. Absolutely don't take shortcuts. Your cultivation speed is too fast. Remember, no shortcuts, even if it means death.
After saying this, the dragon head dissipated. The previous attack was just a facade. Antares' real intention was to get him away from the small world and then say a few words. Antares seemed to be in a hurry, as if something was happening that made it difficult for him to be distracted. Lin Moyu couldn't figure it out for the moment, but he remembered Antares' words. This place was dangerous. The danger referred to the small world and its surroundings. Lin Moyu knew Antares well and understood the deeper meaning of his words. Lin Moyu immediately took Yuju and controlled his mount to start a spatial leap, quickly leaving. In the blink of an eye, Lin Moyu had disappeared into the darkness. Outside the small world, the god sovereigns who had fled earlier sneaked back.
What just happened? I don't know. We've been observing for so long, trying all sorts of methods without entering, and nothing ever happened. Well, something did happen. A few years ago, someone came out from inside and was taken away by a human god sovereign. Speaking of which, that person looks a bit like the guy who came today. That's impossible. How many years have passed? He was just a super god back then, probably not even a true god now. Should we send a few people in to take a look? We've sent people in before, and they all died inside. But we can't just keep guarding like this.
As they discussed, the space suddenly twisted, rippling like waves. Their bodies twisted with the space, but they seemed completely unaware of the spatial changes. Their voices elongated, each word stretching for several seconds. Yet they still felt nothing. The spatial distortion grew stronger layer upon layer. Under the intense spatial distortion, the bodies of the god sovereigns began to break, like iron sheets bent back and forth countless times, directly snapping. But they still felt nothing. After a dozen seconds, the space returned to normal, and there was no trace of them in the starry sky. None of the god sovereigns who had sneaked back survived. In a more distant place, a god sovereign stood dumbfounded, watching this scene. He was one of the 8 god sovereigns from earlier, but because he returned a bit later, he escaped this disaster. He witnessed the bizarre scene, watching 7 powerful god sovereigns die silently. His eyes filled with fear, and he let out a strange cry before turning and fleeing. The starry sky around the small world seemed to have completely returned to peace. At distances of 10,000 kilometers, 20,000 kilometers, 30,000 kilometers from the small world, points of white light flickered. In the starry sky stood inconspicuous skeletons. Lin Moyu had left as Antares advised, but he hadn't completely left. He left some skeletons, one every 10,000 kilometers, to observe the situation outside the small world. He believed Antares wouldn't speak nonsense. If he said it was dangerous, it must be dangerous. Sure enough, danger had indeed arrived. Having flown billions of kilometers away, Lin Moyu suddenly stopped. His expression turned extremely shocked, and he murmured,
"How could this be? What kind of rule is this?"
The god sovereigns were killed without any awareness, even chatting and talking in their final moments. Such an attack was too bizarre to imagine. Yuju sensed Lin Moryu's abnormality.
"Captain, what's wrong?"
Lin Moryu sighed.
"It's nothing."
Yuju didn't press further, but chose to change the topic.
"Captain, why didn't you go back to the small world to take a look? You're not a god sovereign yet, so you can go back."
Lin Moryu controlled the golden eagle mount to continue forward while retracting the skeletons.
"I'm not going back. I have other things to do."
Yuju softly said,
"The ancestors said that while cultivating, one should also relax appropriately. And isn't the captain's wife in the small world? Why not go back to see her?"
Actually, Yuju wanted to ask why he didn't bring his wife out. With Lin Moryu's current ability, whether in the 4-star domains or in Divine City, he could ensure a good life for his wife and family. Yuju's words brought back many memories for Lin Moryu.
"Let me tell you a story."
Lin Moryu said softly. Yuju quickly nodded, her big eyes shining brightly. Lin Moryu began to tell a story. In the human race's divine city, at the edge of the central hall, there was a grand palace. Though not as grand as the central hall, it was still magnificent. In front of the palace stood a statue of Xiao Zhantian, towering 10,000 meters high, incredibly majestic. This was the War God Temple, a legacy personally established by Xiao Zhantian, and the strongest legacy within the human race. A person flew out from the temple and entered the central hall. In the central hall, the Heavenly Saint Sovereign sat at the head. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign looked at the newcomer.
"War Saint Sovereign, have you received the message?"
The War Saint Sovereign nodded.
"After 1,000 years, it has appeared again. Go take a look." "All right."
A teleportation array appeared in the central hall, and a few seconds later, the two disappeared from the hall. 1791, 1791. Chapter 1791. The illegitimate child of the House Saint Sovereign? Outside the small world, accompanied by spatial distortions, the Heavenly Saint Sovereign and the War Saint Sovereign appeared in the starry sky. The War Saint Sovereign sensed the aura in the starry sky.
"There is the aura of a god sovereign."
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign nodded.
"And the smell of blood. There must have been a battle here."
The War Saint Sovereign took out an ancient bronze mirror. The bronze mirror was unlike an ordinary mirror. Its surface was uneven, as if it had not been polished.
"Time reversal."
The War Saint Sovereign lightly chanted, and a vast power of rules surged into the bronze mirror, which immediately emitted a bright light. The bronze mirror was activated, casting a beam of light that enveloped the starry sky. A few seconds later, the light disappeared, and the starry sky returned to normal. Then 9 god sovereigns appeared in the bronze mirror. The 9 god sovereigns came from various clans. After a while, Lin Moyu appeared, and the Golden Eagle clan god sovereign left. A great battle broke out but ended quickly. In just a few seconds, the Golden Eagle clan god sovereign was slain by Lin Moyu. Then Lin Moyu arrived outside the small world. It was clear that those god sovereigns were full of fear towards Lin Moyu. After a while, a sudden attack appeared out of thin air, shattering the space and pushing Lin Moyu back, causing many god sovereigns to flee in panic. Seeing this, the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's face changed slightly.
Look at him!
The War Saint Sovereign immediately shifted the view to Lin Moyu. After being pushed back tens of thousands of kilometers, Lin Moyu stopped. He stayed in the starry sky for a while before quickly turning and leaving. The War Saint Sovereign said,
He seems to be fine, apparently uninjured.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign nodded.
As long as he's fine.
The War Saint Sovereign curiously asked,
You seem very concerned about him. Is he your illegitimate child?
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign snorted.
He's the House Saint Sovereign's. What?
The War Saint Sovereign was stunned, clearly very surprised.
That guy actually has an illegitimate child.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign didn't bother to explain and continued to watch the bronze mirror. New images appeared in the bronze mirror. The god sovereigns who had fled in panic returned. However, not all of them came back. Only 7 returned. Then spatial distortions occurred, creating layered spatial waves. In the image, those god sovereigns seemed completely unaware. Until their bodies were crushed by the spatial waves, they still had no sense of it. The Heavenly Saint Sovereign was surprised.
What's going on? The power of space is strong, but it shouldn't make them feel nothing.
The War Saint Sovereign's expression was serious.
It's the power of time and space. They didn't feel the spatial distortions at all. The power of time and space temporarily separated their consciousness and souls from their bodies. By the time their bodies were completely crushed, their souls returned, and they were killed together. Moreover, I noticed that their speech slowed down before they died. That's because time was acting on them.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign, with a look of shock, murmured,
What a terrifying power!
Combining the powers of time and space forms the power of time and space. The power of time and space is legendary, but the legends say it is an extremely terrifying power. Combining 2 of the most powerful laws, how could it not be strong? The Heavenly Saint Sovereign asked in a deep voice.
Old War, what do you think?
The War Saint Sovereign shook his head.
I can't make a judgment. Do you remember what happened back then?
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign nodded.
Those people have never been found.
The War Saint Sovereign said solemnly.
I suspect it was the power of time and space. They were either killed or sent to another time and space. But this is just my guess. Without truly mastering the power of time and space, it's impossible to know the truth. Even if we knew, what could we do? It's useless.
The Heavenly Saint Sovereign frowned.
It's really perplexing.
The human race doesn't even have anyone who can master the laws of time and space, let alone the power of time and space. How can we find the truth? Suddenly, golden light burst from the Heavenly Saint Sovereign's body, and silver light shone from the War Saint Sovereign's body.
Go!
Their faces changed dramatically, and they quickly flew away. In almost an instant, they flew hundreds of thousands of kilometers before stopping. The light on their bodies extinguished, and the Heavenly Saint Sovereign said,
It should be fine now.
But in the next second, countless bloodlines appeared on their bodies. Their skin cracked, and blood flowed. In an instant, they turned into blood-covered figures. At this moment, they looked at each other with fear in their eyes.
What a terrifying power of time and space.
The War Saint Sovereign, still in shock, said,
If it weren't for our rule power automatically protecting us, we might have ended up like those god sovereigns.
Their wounds were healing. After all, they were saint sovereigns with strong self-healing abilities. They discovered it quickly and escaped in time. If they had been a second or two later, it could have been disastrous.
What should we do?
For a moment, both were at a loss. They didn't dare to go back to that small world, not even to get close. As for the truth, they decided to let it go. With their abilities, they had no right to explore the truth. Being curious can be deadly, and that's not just a saying. The heavenly Saint Sovereign suddenly muttered to himself,
I wonder if Lin Xiaoyu knows something.
The War Saint Sovereign curiously asked.
Who is Lin Xiaoyu?
The heavenly Saint Sovereign replied.
The one who was pushed away just now.
The War Saint Sovereign was completely confused.
Isn't he the House Saint Sovereign's illegitimate child?
The heavenly Saint Sovereign laughed awkwardly.
I was joking with you.
The War Saint Sovereign, blowing his beard and glaring, said,
Is this something to joke about? If I told the House Saint Sovereign, wouldn't that lead to a fight?
The heavenly Saint Sovereign shrugged.
Fight then. It's not like you haven't fought before.
The War Saint Sovereign ignored him.
Seriously, why do you think Lin Xiaoyu knows something?
The heavenly Saint Sovereign said.
Lin Xiaoyu came from that small world. You can check the Human Emperor network for his information.
The War Saint Sovereign, full of doubts, checked Lin Moyu's information on the Human Emperor network. The more he read, the wider his eyes opened, and the more surprised he became.
He's a top-tier genius. Yes.
The heavenly Saint Sovereign nodded. The War Saint Sovereign said,
I calculated, he has a connection with the War God Temple and should join it. Get lost.
The heavenly Saint Sovereign angrily scolded. The heavenly Saint Sovereign said in a low voice,
We old guys have discussed it, and decided to let him grow on his own. If he has a connection with the War God Temple and voluntarily joins, we won't stop him. But you can't go recruiting him. Everything must be his own decision. Don't forget what happened before. We've tried several times, and we can't miss this time. If you want to understand, think more about what the War God left behind.
The War Saint Sovereign, with a complex expression, thought for a long time before saying,
I understand. This time, I'll follow your lead. Should we go find him?
The heavenly Saint Sovereign thought for a moment.
Forget it, let's not find him. If he knows something, he'll tell us. This world has too many mysteries. It's hard to uncover them all. Let's just do our own thing. Although we can't be like the War God, we must strive for the future of the human race.
The War Saint Sovereign said,
We are almost ready. Now we just wait for the right moment.
The heavenly Saint Sovereign laughed.
It's coming soon.
1792 1792. Chapter 1792. That Warm Hand. Lin Moyu's story was told calmly, without much emotion, just a plain narration. It was the first time Yuju realized how dangerous Lin Moyu's small world was. In the great world, people are considered ordinary before reaching the super god realm. They just need to cultivate peacefully every day and can receive abundant resources. But in Lin Moyu's small world, one had to fight from level 1, constantly fighting. Because if they didn't fight, they would die, and the human race would be exterminated. Yuju's emotions fluctuated with Lin Moyu's story, her eyes gradually moistening. She looked at Lin Moyu with a hint of heartache. At that moment, she immersed herself in the story, empathizing deeply. She sighed softly.
I thought the captain was a genius in the small world, admired by countless people. I didn't expect the captain's small world to be so harsh and dangerous. But the captain is truly amazing, being able to fight his way out of such a small world. He is a real genius.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Every small world is different. My small world is not unique.
Yuju sighed again. Lin Moyu smiled.
It is difficult, but not without hope.
Yuju thought for a moment.
I seem to have heard that some treasures can enhance cultivation aptitude, and there are also legendary pills that can extend life by tens of thousands of years. When we return to Divine City, I'll look in the family's archives. Maybe I can find something.
Seeing her serious expression, Lin Moyu couldn't help but pat her head.
Thank you.
Yuju smiled sweetly.
It's what I should do.
Lin Moyu and Yuju returned to the Vermilion Bird Star domain and then took a teleportation array to the border area, preparing to head to the White Tiger Star domain. Between the Vermilion Bird Star domain and the White Tiger Star domain, there was also a dark void. It should be said that there are dark voids between all 4 star domains. From chatting with Yu Bingqing for a few days, Lin Moyu learned that dark voids not only exist in the human race's star domain. In many places in the Great World, there are dark voids. Yu Bingqing didn't know why dark voids exist. She knew their existence, but not the reason. Lin Moyu, however, was very clear that dark voids were caused by the invasion of the Great World by the Black Blood Great World in ancient times. Every dark void was once a battlefield. Not a battlefield between strong individuals, but a battlefield between 2 worlds, a series of wounds. The Great World once faced the Black Blood Great World head-on, leaving these wounds, which still bleed to this day. Lin Moyu had seen the runes of the Great World, which were nearly shattered. From this, he judged that even if the Great World had withstood the invasion back then, it was a Pyrrhic victory. Lin Moyu stood at the edge of the Vermilion Bird Star domain, with a dark void that could swallow light 10,000 kilometers ahead of him. The star domain-level teleportation array was gathering energy, preparing to send a group of cultivators to the White Tiger Star domain. Yuju stood beside Lin Moyu, also gazing at the dark void.
I used to hear about the dark void from my sisters and elders. So this is what it looks like.
Lin Moyu smiled.
Do you want to take a look inside?
Yuju shook her head.
I've heard from my sisters that you can't see anything inside, and it's very dangerous. Then let's not go. Indeed, you can't see anything inside.
Lin Moyu said honestly. There really was nothing to see. Yuju said.
But the elders in the family also said that there are many opportunities in the dark void.
Lin Moyu thought for a moment.
Opportunities do exist, but whether you can get them depends on your strength and luck.
A middle-aged man nearby seemed to have overheard Lin Moyu and Yuju's conversation.
Young lady, opportunities often come with danger. Often, when you see an opportunity, you might lose your life.
This middle-aged man was a minor god sovereign, with an air of weariness about him. His words were kind but also carried a hint of envy, seemingly envious of Yuju and Lin Moryu's youth. Yuju politely said,
Thank you for the reminder, senior. I understand.
The middle-aged man said no more, his gaze turning to the dark void, with a hint of sadness and nostalgia in his eyes.
This is a man with a story.
Lin Moryu thought to himself. He had no interest in asking what the middle-aged man had experienced. In the human race, there were too many such people. Living for hundreds or thousands of years, who doesn't have a story? The space trembled slightly, creating ripples. Then a light shot into the dark void like an arrow, bringing a moment of brightness to the dark void before being swallowed by darkness again. The star domain-level teleportation array had gathered enough energy and sent off a group of cultivators. The distance of cross-star domain teleportation was too far, requiring immense energy for each teleportation. Below the star domain-level teleportation array, 2 stars provided energy for the array. Every 10 minutes, the teleportation array could be activated once, each time sending 10,000 people. The queue moved forward, and another 10,000 people entered the teleportation array, waiting quietly. Lin Moryu and Yuju also entered the teleportation array, waiting for the teleportation. Those who could come here were at least God Kings, and they were all above the 3rd tier of the God King realm. Level 5 permissions were not easy to obtain. By the time one reached level 5 permissions, they were usually already at the 3rd tier of the God King realm. Yuju's cultivation was at the 1st tier of the God King realm, making her the weakest among everyone here. Moreover, she hadn't reached level 5 permissions. She only had the privilege of free movement because she was from the Yu family, came from Divine City, and held an officer rank. A few minutes later, the teleportation array activated. Accompanied by brilliant light, over 10,000 people traversed the dark void, heading towards the White Tiger Star domain tens of thousands of light-years away. The star domain-level teleportation array had an extremely fast teleportation speed, creating immense pressure on the body. This pressure required at least the God-King realm to withstand. If it were a true god, they might collapse on the spot. Yuju's face turned slightly pale, gritting her teeth to endure the pressure coming from all directions. She carefully leaned against Lin Moyu, her body trembling slightly. But the pressure grew stronger, gradually reaching Yuju's limit. Her vision darkened slightly, and she seemed to have hallucinations. At this moment, she felt a warm hand on her shoulder, followed by a stream of life force entering her body. All the discomfort was instantly cleared away, and she felt as if she had entered a hot spring, incredibly comfortable. Yuju looked up and saw Lin Moryu's sharp yet gentle face. His eyes filled with a sense of happiness.
Thank you, Captain.
Yuju said softly. Lin Moryu didn't speak, just nodded slightly. Lin Moryu's hand continued to transmit warmth, growing stronger and stronger, making Yuju feel like she was about to melt.
I really like this feeling. If only it could be like this every day.
Yuju thought, enjoying the happiness, her mind filled with random thoughts. Unfortunately, good times always pass quickly. An hour later, the teleportation ended. Lin Moryu withdrew his warm hand at that moment. Yuju felt a sense of loss but knew she couldn't be greedy. She firmly imprinted this feeling in her heart. 1793, 1793.